show up as taxation is Steph's room. I think it'll have debate Ancaps as like a.
Oh
sub.
no! You gotta put it. So at the top right of it says taxation is theft. Right on the right side, it should have an
KingSithis is now live streaming
gear
World of
icon.
Warcraft.
If you click that,
Socialism
you can change the
bad
name.
debate.
Voice settings? Is that?
No, it should be on the first one.
Here. Howdy.
Howdy.
Sarah. I am trying to figure out where there is I'm trying to find a gear setting somewhere. Remember, I'm doing this on mobile.
Oh, he's trying to figure out how to change the name of the room. That's what he's trying to figure out.
Oh, I don't think it works anymore. Like I tried. Yeah. I tried doing like the rename, and that's supposed to change the name, and like it has worked before, but it just changes the status. They might have changed it to not work.
Okay, what about this? Okay, so
Yeah,
both of those commands just changed the status.
I mean, if I had the ability to be on my computer and change it, I would, but I don't know.
But yeah, they broke it. Like that's the dot rename is supposed to change the channel name. It says it like at the top of the like list or whatever, the chat list, but they broke it or they stopped it because like people can put bad names and get the server banned. So yeah, no, I don't think you can.
Interesting. Yeah, because I look at everybody else's room and it also says this person's room, that person's room, this person's room.
Some of them have it different probably because they kept it from before it happened. So.
Yeah. We're Ancaps.
So, is that just like saying that, well, like fully free market capitalists and stuff?
Yeah.
Do you guys care about like poor people at all?
No.
I do. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, sit this way. Abrasive.
No, yes. We care about poor people. We just don't think that the government's like the best way to help poor people.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think a good way to help them is?
Well, for starters, I think the state artificially props up poverty well past what is natural. A big role it plays is in the cartelization of markets, whereby through exertion of state power, corporate cartels are able to oligopolize industries, and it enables them to. A situation where a handful of the biggest players have most of the market share in an industry, or at least a disproportionate amount of market share in an industry. And this has two major effects on poor people. One is that it drives consumer prices higher, or at least prevents them from going down more because there's less competition in terms of prices on the shelf. And then another effect is it keeps or drives wages down lower than what they naturally would be. Just there's less competition between employers, substantially less. So the outcome of the state interference in markets is that poor people have far less bargaining power than we otherwise would. We could have a lower cost of living and higher income, if not for cartelization of industry through the state. And we can also clearly see when we examine industries, the greater the degree of state involvement in an industry, the more cartelized it is, the higher the CR4, the concentration of market share held by the top four players, for instance. It is a very strong correlation with the degree of state involvement. So step one, I would say, in getting people out of poverty is get rid of the state.
Yes.
Let what the poor people can offer, such as labor, be worth a lot more. have much more competition for what they can provide, and much more competition in selling them what the things they need.
The person below us just made a room, and they changed the name.
Oh, no, they didn't. It's just a status. But Sam Hyde's girlfriend room is just like, that's their username.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah. So like, you're saying that poor people will be able to go like back to stop being poor individually?
Yes,
Like,
I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm saying that what poor people can offer would be worth a lot more, and the things that poor people need would be worth a lot less. So together, those create an effect of a much better standard of living for poor people.
Okay, so if a poor person is in a state of living where they're like, they have no money, they're like starving, they're not able to work because of their physical condition, how does that work?
That's another equation. The person who cannot produce. And in that case, it's true that, we don't support having any form of a welfare state. We don't think that person should be should be fed by forcing somebody else to feed them. That said, if people in general tend to have more disposable income, then there's a lot more room for help, from families, from charities, and, churches, and whatever kind of do-gooders are out there.
Do-gooders?
Okay.
Yeah.
So if all the do-gooders are like if the only people who are rich are the only people who can afford this are people who are who are only looking for profit, who are greedy, how
who can afford what?
The only people who are able to like give this money away, who have money to spare, are people who like are greedy because therefore they're rich. Like, how would that person get like those poor people get aid?
Do you have to be rich to help people? I mean, do you have to be a billionaire? And if let's say you're driving and you're near an overpass, and a guy is standing in the median, and he walks up to your car and he's like, "Hey man, you got $1 or a bite to eat or something?" Do you have to be a billionaire to throw $5 his way? No. Where I live in a very poor town called Keystone Heights, Florida, and in Keystone Heights we have a food bank. It's propped up by a church, by a local church, and the people who go to that church, the congregation, they're by virtue of the fact that they live in Keystone Heights, I know they're not rich. I can tell they're not rich. But they manage to hold a pretty serious food bank in which they give away a great deal of food and keep a lot of families fed. And that's a poor town doing that.
But in this situation, it's very likely that the people who aren't rich aren't really they're not stable. They don't have a stable life because they're working they're working just to live.
That wouldn't be any more true. In other words, the factors which enable the poor people of Keystone Heights to, contribute to a food bank, those factors wouldn't be detracted from any.
What do you guys think about involuntary charity? Right.
They would be less poor. Yeah, we're against involuntary charity.
Yes, that's a violation of property rights.
I see.
In fact, we don't like involuntary anything, with the one caveat being if you impose something involuntary on somebody else, you go beat somebody up and take their wallet and stuff, they can now impose something involuntary on you in response, and it would be justified.
Through the state.
Not through the state.
No, not through the state. Just a priori.
And how do you do that, dude?
Guns.
Guns?
Well, hold on. It depends what you're asking. Are you saying a priori, how can it be done? Or what kind of system do we want?
Like someone breaks into your house and rapes you, right? How do you get recourse?
In the Ancaps society, you would call up your rights enforcement company, which is probably also your insurance company, and they would investigate the crime and figure out who did it if they can. I got an Uber order for Paul Joseph.
So that one's already been picked up.
That means the first driver stole it.
Yeah.
Well, what is it? Crunchwrap Supreme.
It's Paul Jorge or George or whatever his last name is.
Paul Joseph P.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can I get a remake?
We are Ancaps. We support anarcho-capitalism.
Why?
Oh wait,
Because it's the best ideology ever.
Okay, that was not an answer. That's very generic.
Well, I mean, it's my opinion, but you know.
Because I value peace, prosperity, and freedom, and I see it as the best path toward all of those things.
Hell yeah, and I agree.
That sounded very consequentialist. I can also make an ethical case, you know, that I support libertarian principles. And if you consistently apply libertarian principles, it will land you at an anarcho-capitalist system. I don't think anarcho-capitalism is inherently libertarian, but I think to be fully libertarian, you arrive at anarcho-capitalism.
What is the difference between right libertarianism and anarcho-capitalism?
You could say that anarcho-capitalism is a form of right libertarianism. It's the furthest form of right libertarianism. Right libertarianism is kind of more broadly kind of an entire quadrant of the political spectrum. And at the furthest, you could say at top left of that bottom right quadrant, you might find guys like Rand Paul.
Could I say something? So, like,
Sure.
Your average libertarian would be more for, like, limited state intervention, whereas we hold the non-aggression principle consistently, where we believe in no state intervention, like, at all.
So how do you deal with monopolies?
I actually have a 30-page chapter about that. Monopolies, generally speaking, are a creation of government. There is one exception to that, and that is small market monopolies. A small town grocery store is a monopoly not because the government is keeping out competitors, but because the market's simply not large enough to sustain multiple competitors. And
You're not answering the question.
Well, I was about to get there. So we don't do anything about that kind of monopoly. We simply let that exist, which right now the government isn't doing anything to stop that either. It would be weird to try to stop that. The other kind of monopoly that exists today is large-scale monopoly, large market monopolies. This is like a lot of big cities in America. They have a monopoly on electrical infrastructure. But in virtually every case, you can directly identify the hand of the state in keeping out competitors. For example, where you have a municipal...
How do you deal with a single monopoly on everything?
Well, you would never get that in the first place. That's the nature of the free market, is not to consolidate. It is to disperse and decentralize. The larger a market is, the more players can and will capitalize on that demand.
Yeah, so this is stupid. Let's say that you and I are selling apples, okay? And we're in your stupid anarcho-capitalist system.
Stupid.
And okay, so I happen to have
Is it also stupid?
Maybe the same number of apples as you. So someone buys more of my apples for whatever reason. So I end up with more money than you. So I buy your apples, right? But then I end up with all the apples. Okay? All so far?
What's preventing you from buying other apples?
Well, I don't want other apples. I want to buy all of his apples.
Okay, this is, I believe what you're getting at is the buyout theory of monopoly. Right. This was demonstrated false, or I should say inviable, by John D. Rockefeller and David P. Rygaard specifically.
Why can't I just buy all your apples?
You are perfectly allowed to buy the apples, but here's what happens. You go broke. So back in the days...
Okay, let's say I buy half your apples to start.
Okay, I'm going to give you a real...
You can't buy the whole world's apples, right? You know that, right?
No, you can.
No, you can't.
Okay, so
it's impossible.
Back in the days of Standard Oil, Standard Oil was a very big oil company. They were very efficient, did a very good job, and the owner John D. Rockefeller, he wanted to have a monopoly on oil. He tried desperately to get a monopoly on oil. One of his strategies to try to get a monopoly was to buy out every competitor, to try to buy out everybody who starts another oil refinery and so on. So one clever man named David P. Rygaard built 3 consecutive oil refineries for the sole purpose of selling them to Rockefeller at outlandish prices. And he made a fortune doing so. It was a disaster for Rockefeller. So when you adopt a policy of I'll buy out anyone who competes with me, what you're essentially doing is putting up a billboard that says free money, just come compete with me and then name your price. Yeah. It's a very quick way for the monopolist to go bankrupt.
If you can't stop the business, other businesses from popping up and selling the same good, then there would be nothing stop. Then you would actually be incentivizing them to compete with you, because the second they compete with you, you buy them out and then they'll get a quick payday.
So you're saying that's still not really answering the question.
The problem is that some companies actually are good companies, right? That there's other Rockefellers out there. That he's not buying any true competition, right? This doesn't actually solve the problem of true competition not existing. This solves the problem of startups getting getting bought out. This is not, this person basically has a monopoly.
Except others are able to enter the market as true competition, especially if you have a very limited pool of established players in a market. The smaller the pool of established players is, the more profitable it becomes for somebody else to genuinely compete with them.
Yeah, as long as the state doesn't make it illegal for that business to compete, and other companies will compete.
You can't compete with somebody when they're like a million miles ahead, right? They have all the resources. They can.
This is another effect of the state. Yes, you can. So right now, a lot of the biggest companies, the biggest and most important, mega corporations and so forth, are operating well past their diseconomy of scale point. Now, they get subsidies from the state, and they're able to impose onerous costs on their competitors through the state and through regulatory agencies. But if they didn't have that, then they would be outcompeted by their smaller competitors. You're probably familiar with economies of scale, where up to a certain point anyway, costs of production decrease per unit as you scale up production, which allows the bigger player to undercut the smaller player. However, that's only true up to a certain point. And then past that point, you hit the diseconomy. Well, you hit the optimum efficiency point, and then you begin to trail into diseconomy of scale. This is where the cost of production per unit begin to increase as you scale up production. And right now, the outcome of that in a free market is that the giant mega corporation gets outcompeted by the smaller, mid-sized competitors that are able to undercut them.
So in your super hypothetical, ultra utopian world where the state is doing nothing to regulate, also
there is no state.
This is silly because regulation is necessary before that, right? It's necessary for labor.
You're saying
maybe you don't care about labor.
If someone were to buy up all of the oil.
Hold on, guys, one at a time. You guys are talking at the same time.
And sell it for an exorbitant amount of money. That's the solution?
We couldn't hear you. I couldn't even hear what you said because you were speaking as the other guy was speaking, which is kind of rude.
Right, because you gave me the stupid example about this oil rig thing. So if someone were to do that, you're saying that the proposed solution to monopoly is just bring up another oil rig. Oh, no problem. Just pull an oil rig out of your ass.
Well, yes, competition is what beats.
Well, you don't have to pull it out of your ass. The way it works is that you either have some capital or you garner some capital investments, and then you build an oil rig, an oil refinery, and so on, and then you profit by operating it.
So you're pulling an oil rig out of your ass because you already have some guy who has all of the oil rigs, and you don't have an oil rig. But you're saying, oh look, there's a market for oil rigs, so I'm going to pull an oil rig out of my.
You could build it. Hypothetically, you could build an oil rig, right? Like, there's nothing legally stopping you from building your own oil rig, right?
You build one the same way that guy did. Did he pull oil rigs out of his ass? No. He garnered some capital investments and he built them. And the same thing can be done by other rich guys.
Exactly. These guys didn't just get oil rigs from nowhere. They had to build them from capital investments that they earn
Taxation is
or got
best
from
in
other businesses.
KingSithis.
So if they see that
can I
there's
ask
a
you?
if they see that there's a profit that could be made from selling oil, well then yeah, it won't be hard for them to make a profit off of creating a oil rig.
So basically what you're saying is that there's infinite amount of oil rigs that can be bought. They're just waiting to be bought, and any rich guy can come along and say, oh, I have $1 million, I'm going to buy an oil rig.
You don't have to buy existing ones. You can just build new ones.
Yeah.
Right. So anyone, like any guy off the street, like you have $1 million.
No, not any guy off the street. No.
Investors and entrepreneurs.
Not any guy off the street. Rich guys. There's plenty of rich guys. Millions of rich guys. Guys like David P. Reigart, who pulled 3 consecutive oil refineries out of his ass.
Right. So now we're at the level where you already own a monopoly of something else, and you can now buy an oil rig.
You probably never gained one in the first place.
Also, there isn't a monopoly if there's competition too. If there's competition, there's no monopoly.
Enough that you're rich enough to buy an oil rig just as a fly-of-the-mill purchase. You say, okay, one day I'm going to buy an oil rig because I already have a monopoly on computer chips. So that person maybe can.
Where are you getting that monopoly? We're talking about a world.
Two monopolies.
How do you have a monopoly on computer chips?
No. Let's continue here. So let's say you have.
They've already answered your question, man. It's somebody has a sufficient amount of capital they can go in and produce another oil rig.
Or
so
another chip factory.
Monopolies. One of them buys an oil rig, and then another one comes along and buys the other oil rig. So how
that's
many
competition.
Of these there are possible to do?
And then there's no more
10?
monopoly.
So how many?
There was probably never any monopolies.
As many as needed to fit the demand.
We're talking about a world. We're talking about a world in which nobody can keep their competitors. Nobody can keep people from competing with them because there are no regulatory bodies and no patents and so forth. So when we're talking about large markets, we're talking about a world where there are no monopoly, where every large market is highly competitive. There are many providers of computer chips, many providers of oil and so forth.
So maybe 10. Are you not going to give me a number?
That depends. That depends how large the market is.
And the supply.
We're saying infinite.
If we're talking about large global markets like oil is, then we're talking about thousands and thousands of competitors.
There's an infinite amount of people who can own oil rigs, is what you're saying.
Infinite is a stretch, but there's millions and millions of rich people out there.
Also, in the real world, there isn't one oil rig company. There's many, many oil rig companies.
Okay, let's say that there is, like you're saying, millions of rich people enough to buy oil rigs. Let's say it's exactly 1 million for this example. Now, let's say that one of those million people happens to have the majority of the oil rigs, and he wants to get the rest of them.
How do we get? Wait a minute. How did we arrive at that premise in the first place? An industry as large and contentious as oil? He's going to have most of them.
Here's the fallacy.
That doesn't make sense.
There's unlimited resources.
There isn't unlimited resources, though.
There's plenty. Look, for oil rigs, most of what you need is steel. There's not infinite steel, but there's plenty of steel. We're not like running low on steel.
There's not infinite oil. I'm sorry.
No, there's not infinite oil, but there's enough oil. First of all, the finite nature of oil doesn't actually affect, at this point in time, doesn't affect concentration of market share in the oil industry. It's still being pulled out of the ground.
Right.
Anybody can go pull it out of the ground.
Your average Joe can buy an oil rig?
No,
Nobody's
of course
saying
the average
that.
Joe is not going to. No one said that. It doesn't have to be accessible to the average Joe to be accessible to the average millionaire.
Billionaire. So
Certainly billionaire. You don't even need to be a billionaire. You could be a millionaire, be somebody who's established competence in business, and then garner large capital investments from banks and other financiers.
You just need to have enough money to pay for the equipment to pull the oil out of the earth. And you can get that from investors if you know what you're doing.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yeah,
people were doing that.
You can ask a question.
If people were doing it in the 1800s, then a ordinary millionaire can do it today.
Yeah, no problem. Or a rich entrepreneur who's really good at getting investments.
You can't corner the market because there's always going to be some other billionaire who's going to come along and buy some other oil rig that newly popped up, and he's going to mark it up at exorbitant prices. Enough so
you keep saying
oil rig is somehow going to put all of the other billionaires who already own the market out of business.
As long in a free market.
Why are you saying buy an oil rig? The equation is build an oil rig. You can create new ones where there's not like a tree of oil rigs, and that's where the oil rigs come from, and we're limited to how many, are produced by that oil rig tree. We can create new oil rigs as long as we have steel and there's still oil, in the earth to be pulled. And both of those things for the foreseeable future we're pretty good on.
Oh, and if I could add something, in a free market, if a business is making a lot of profit off of selling oil, that as long as there's no barriers to entry in terms of you being allowed to buy land that may have prospects of oil in which you could pull out of the ground and make profit from, then that's going to incentivize other individuals to invest in that business and create more oil rigs.
There's no incentive where it would say that those people who already own the majority
they want to make
of the
profit
oil rigs would be more likely to be able to purchase more of the oil rigs.
Yeah, but you could wait if you're an oil rig, right? And a company
necessary massive infrastructure and banking infrastructure and all of this stuff that goes along with owning this corporation. They already own it all. Someone can just come along out of nowhere.
Yeah, but that's not how that works. Even in the real world, that's not how that works. Even as it is right now, there's multiple oil rig companies. And even in multiple different countries. There are many oil rig companies. So even in the real world, could you name me one oil rig company that that was a monopoly and completely cornered the market without the state's help? Or was it a criminal organization? Could you give me just one real world example?
How many oil rig companies do you think there are? Let's look this up.
There are many. Hundreds.
Hundreds, easily. And that's
but you're so certain, you're so certain that there's going to be a monopoly in this sector. And I'm just wondering, could you give me one real world example of this ever happening without the state intervention or without it being a criminal organization? Just one?
Even Rockefeller never had less than 100 competitors. And that's when it was a young market.
So empirically, I would say the empirical studies would go in our favor that there's much less monopolies when you have more of a free market.
There's also there's a very clear statistical correlation between a degree of state involvement in an industry and how concentrated that industry is. The less government you have in an industry, the more competition you have in the industry across the board.
Mm-hmm. If you actually look at
there is not infinite amount of oil. There isn't enough resources to go around. We live.
Nobody's saying there's an infinite amount of oil.
Nobody's saying that there's an infinite amount of oil.
We're talking to nobody.
We have. Hold on.
Genuinely.
Well, all we're saying is that there's enough oil in the earth to make us last for a very, very, very long time. And oil is pretty cheap now, and the reason why that is, it's just so plentiful and abundant that your average person is able to purchase it.
How finite oil is, the limit to the amount of oil in the earth has no bearing on whether it's going to be 200 oil companies pulling it out of the earth or one oil company. Certainly not at this point in time. If you get to a point in time that, there's only one oil field left, all the other oil has been sucked dry, and there's only one place left that you can get oil from, then whatever company owns that area is going to have a monopoly at that point in time. And by that point in time, by the way,
getting convoluted because you're getting confused about the limited example. I'm talking about a limited resource. So we live in a planet with finite resources. So, and you think it's infinite, but fine, we'll talk.
We're not saying it's infinite. We're just saying there's such an abundance of it that it's not going to run out anytime soon, or even in our lifetime. That's like saying, oh, in hundreds of thousands of years, the sun is going to go out. But it's just but we're not going to be alive then, so it doesn't matter to us.
If resources were infinite, there would be no need for property rights and markets in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Scarcity is the reason.
Subject since it's been asked and answered.
Yeah, sure. You can ask whatever you want.
Okay. premise this question with the statement that I am libertarian in nature, but I want to hear Ancaps, your specific Ancap answer on this, Mr. KingSithis and Mr. Taxation is Theft. Okay.
Sure,
so we
fire
know
away.
theft is a violation of the non-aggression principle. Yes?
Yes.
We'll just start with that as a premise, right? Okay. How do you, as an ANCAP, deal with the justice? Because, and let me finish. I know you're going to say private. You know, if I get stolen from, my recourse is to go to a private adjudication firm, right? If I can't,
hold on, let him go. Let him finish. Let him go.
If I can't agree with the person who stole from me's on the firm in which to adjudicate the matter, how do I get this situation resolved apart from resorting to violence?
So it's probably not you and the thief directly figuring out the court. In all likelihood, you have gone to your rights enforcement company and reported the theft, and they have contacted the thief's rights enforcement company. In all likelihood, these two firms, knowing they're inevitably going to have disputes because they operate in the same markets, they have pre-agreed on what courts they're going to bring disputes before. Now, let's say hypothetically they haven't. They probably, as soon as they're both operating in the same market, that phone call probably happened. But let's say hypothetically that it did not. Well, both of these firms understand that it behooves both of them to identify an arbitrator to bring the dispute before. Now, if one of them is being totally unreasonable, one of them is saying, hey, I'll going to agree to any court, or saying I'm only going to agree to the court that my cousin owns, or some nonsense like that, not being amenable to reasonable adjudication, that one is in breach of any backup contracts that it would be party to. Whereas the other party, who's playing by the rules, who's doing as you're supposed to do, being reasonably amenable to resolve the dispute amicably. What'd you say?
Why would it be in breach of any other contracts? Question.
So, I should maybe rewind. So, when you first enter the market as a rights enforcement company, as a provider of force, it's immediately obvious to you, hey, I'm not the biggest fish in the sea. I need to make sure I can't just get rolled over by whoever has a bigger army. And so, the way you take care of the way that you take care of that and the way that they historically have dealt with that problem is you enter into backup contracts with as many other companies as possible.
Hold on. Whoa. What?
Taxation. I got a question for you.
I was in the middle of talking.
Where he was in the middle of saying something.
Important. No, this is more important, though. I can't remember. Remember you sent me a picture?
Okay. I don't like when people come in and start interrupting. Anyway, so when you first enter the market as a rights enforcement firm, you need to make sure you can't just be rolled over by whoever has a bigger army. And the way they historically have dealt with that problem is by going to as many other rights enforcement companies as possible and entering into mutual backup contracts with them. These are contracts that essentially say, I will back you up, you back me up, but I'm not going to back you up no matter what you do. That is, you can't go pick profitable fights and, go rape and pillage and expect me to shield you, expend my resources and capital to shield you from the consequences of your actions. I will only back you up if you do everything possible to avoid conflict. That means that we're going to have clauses in the contract that say you have to be amenable to arbitration. You have to abide by court outcomes, first and foremost. And you can't go picking fights. Any falling off from that standard, I'm not going to back you up. But as long as you do have my backup, as long as you are playing by the rules, you get the backup of me, as well as my other backup contract partners and their contract partners and so forth. So you get collective enforcement mechanism such that if company A and B are in conflict, company A is not being reasonable, is not being willing to defer to a court or abide by the outcome, then company A has no backup, but company B has the backup of companies C and D and E and F and so forth, even hundreds of other companies.
Makes right. That's a makes right situation, which doesn't. It's not justice. It's more of a might makes right situation. Furthermore, if something is stolen from me, but the other person claims, "Oh, that's rightfully mine," then the clause for company B, which is the company which is defending the person who stole but is claiming it's rightfully theirs, the person could just say, "Oh, it was rightfully mine. Y'all didn't see this happen. They're just claiming that I stole from them, but it's not actually."
Right. So that's a question. It sounds like of just evidence of ownership, and that's not any more or less of a problem depending on what kind of legal system you have, whether you have a government legal system or a private legal system. If one person claims that that horse was mine and the other person says no, it was mine, it's you trying to steal my horse by claiming I stole it from you. But regardless of what legal system you have, you have to be able to figure out whose horse was it originally. And there are private means by which you can do that with certain things. You can, register something on a blockchain. Do have your purchase be on a blockchain or something like that. Create tangible or photographic evidence, whatever. That here's me building this house. Here's me buying this car from this guy, and so on.
It just seems as though this Ancapistan quote-unquote justice system, if you could even call that, just turns into a might makes right situation.
I would say that's less true of the Ancap justice system than it is in the government system. In the government justice system, you have all the way might makes right. That is to say, in the government justice system, whatever gets legislated, no matter how arbitrary, no matter how unjust, whatever gets is what will be upheld. It can be a Holocaust. It can be year zero, the Great Soviet Purge. You can kill millions of people. But so long as it has been legislated, that's what's going to be upheld. There's no ethical standard being enforced. You have a monopoly on force, and that monopoly can do whatever it wants to people. They have the might. Whereas,
including rob you.
Whereas in the Ancap legal system, nobody has that kind of power. Any given person or company that wants to be able to use force has to be able to justify it within the broader context of a market of force, whereby everybody wants their own stuff to be protected. Everybody wants themselves to be protected. Companies can capitalize on that. The broader demand, such as protection of life and property, is what is the most profitable to capitalize on by far.
Sign me up for the guys with the largest guns, then, because that's what it says.
Understood, but based on the backup contract system I described earlier, having the biggest army means nothing, because your biggest army,
it falls into sort of like might makes right situation.
What do you mean by a might makes right situation? What does that mean exactly?
Like if I go, if I'm Billy Bob and Joe and I get my stuff stolen, then it just seems like I should
it's in the Master Debaters.
Mega Ultra Big Guns Corporation, who and hire them, and maybe Ultra Big Guns Corporation can handle it, because maybe the guy who stole my stuff, Mr. Filcher,
it says the invite expired.
Maybe, I don't know. It just seems.
Okay. It sounds like you're referencing disparities of size between providers of rights enforcement, but those disparities become irrelevant within the context of backup contract network.
I don't know about that, because if I have influential Ultra Mega Big Guns Corporation, maybe Ultra Mega Big Guns Corporation can secure through force of law or intimidation, a better contract
Kinda like the
with
state?
some other folks.
If that were true, that would just be government. But the idea of a horizontal collective enforcement mechanism, the contract system I described earlier, is that even if they're the biggest army, they're still just a drop in the ocean. And it wouldn't be, if they're trying to act unjustly, that is, if they're trying to force their way, not play by the rules, they are greatly overpowered by entire networks of contractually congealed backup that can be leveraged by their competitor.
Yeah,
Also,
it's just
can I
like-
jump? Can I say something real quick?
This is just like, sorry, just to clarify,
Sure, Gary, go
this is
ahead.
just like a nation state situation, like NATO versus, I don't know, whatever, some other random. So it just seems to me like I should be on the side with the bigger guns. At the end of the day.
It's somewhat similar in principle, but there's a couple of big differences. Number one is that these are profit-seeking firms. They can't externalize their costs. So you don't end up with a situation where it's one contract network versus another contract network.
It keeps
Because
saying I don't have
everybody
permission, but it is no
would
big
have been
deal.
backing the aggressor, who is forfeiting who is in violation of their contractual requirements, for fair adjudication and so forth. They're not going to provide backup. That would be against their financial interest to do so.
Before, maybe the guy's maybe Mr. Filcher is claiming, he stole, that was my rightful apple, and he's claiming I stole this apple, but it's actually my apple, and he's impeding my right to enjoy my apple.
So it's not about who owned the property that was stolen leading to the dispute. It's about who is or is not willing to adjudicate fairly. That is to say, who is willing to take the matter before a neutral arbitrator, who is willing to abide by the outcome of court. Whoever isn't willing to abide by the rules of adjudication doesn't have any backup. And even if they're the biggest company there is, they would be greatly overpowered by the other side that is able to leverage their backup.
Also, we're talking about private companies here. These are companies that will profit off of keeping their customers alive, because the more customers that they keep alive, the more money that they're going to make. And if there are another company coming together, there's a company that's going in harming them or violating their rights, well, then they're going to lose that money. Also, starting a war with another company, because they're not forcing because it's a private company and the people who are under that private company service can choose to buy another service if they so choose. If they decide to go to a war, excuse me. So once they go to a war with another company, they will basically have to raise the prices of the goods in which they're selling. And then the people who are under their service will then choose to buy a service that is not going to war and is choosing to, stay more peaceful. Because these are people who are looking at the prices and they don't really care about necessarily a specific alliance to a specific private security company.
Sure. This doesn't really get to the mass justice, though. Like, we're talking about...
That also includes justice, because they're getting paid to provide justice to their people too, through arbitration.
But in matters of justice, it just seems far more simple to have and more consistent in securing rights. Have a state just to have justice.
Yeah, but we don't have one state though. We have many states.
We have multiple states. I'm not disagreeing with that.
Okay, so then even in the world, you don't even have a monopoly on like of what you're talking about now.
It might sound similar, but we have seen constantly and invariably throughout history that trying to get justice through a government, it doesn't work. What happens when they decide they want to rob and incarcerate and kill millions of peaceful people? They constantly do. And nothing, sometimes they get deposed, sometimes they get overthrown in a bloody revolution, or sometimes they get attacked and
Sure,
conquered.
but that's different than the situation presented before you, which is that if somebody steals my apple, I can go to a small claims court who can then bring the other person by force to court to either give me back my apple or give me...
Wait, you do realize that's how it goes on with the state right now. What you're describing is like what goes on with the state right now. You call the state, you say, hey, this guy stole this thing from me, and then they make that guy go to court. That's how it goes on right now.
Yes.
The only difference is that there's a private company doing the job as opposed to a state.
No, because once again, if the private company can't bring Joe Schmo to court by force, he's being defended by Ultra Mega Big Guns.
I should point out they don't actually have to bring him to court by force. It's just you don't have to go to court, but if you don't go to court, then you're not there to argue your case. And if you're found guilty, then the punishment can still be imposed whether you chose to go to court or not.
Yep.
And we're not talking
not if Joe Schmo is defended by Big Guns, big Ultra Mega Corporation.
Again, if a big mega corporation decides to go to war with small these other corporations, they're going to have to raise their prices. Then that's going to incentivize the people who are subscribed to them to not want to buy from them anymore, thus making them lose their customer base, as well as spend a whole bunch of money on a war to protect some dumb criminal.
It's
White Claw is still not done.
It's not going to happen because it would cost too much.
Yeah, justice is not being done.
I think I failed to explain earlier. No matter how big your company is, you can't just say we're going to protect the guy from consequence killing, and we don't care what a court thinks. We're just gonna back him up no matter what happens. Because you would have the floor wiped with you by the contract network of the other side of the equation. You would be on your own.
What if your contract network? What if Joe Schmo's contract network, the guy who stole my apple, is big, brawny, and big, and is bigger than my contract network?
No. The one who won't play by the rules doesn't have any contract. That's central to how these contracts work. You're
presuming once again that the Joe Schmo over there who stole my apple wouldn't plead to that contract company and say, "Oh, he's impeding on my right to enjoy my apple."
No, I'm not presuming that. I'm assuming.
Can I ask a question?
Joe Schmo goes to his rights enforcement company, and he says, "Hey, these guys are accusing me of stealing an apple. I don't know what they're talking about. You back me up, right?" Now, let's say he goes to some giant company, right? And he says, "Hey, giant company, I want you to not agree to take this to court, not agree to abide by any court outcome. I just want you to unconditionally, protect me from any consequences."
If that's the case, then big ultra okay.
I didn't get to finish. That company is going to say, hell no, we're not doing that. And the reason that they're going to say, hell no, we're not doing that is because if they do it, they're fucked. If they do it, it doesn't matter how big they are. If they do that, then by doing so, they're forfeiting any backup contracts they would have had with other companies. Nobody's going to back them up at this point because they're not doing everything to avoid conflict. Whereas the other company, your company, that's, there to enforce your right to the apple and prosecute Joe Schmo for the theft, your company still has the backing of its contract partners because it is playing by the rules of the contract. So you have company A, big Joe Schmo's company, by itself versus not just company B, but hundreds of other companies or potentially thousands in the extended networks of company B's contract.
Okay, that doesn't really get to the. So
can I ask
once again, Joe Schmo can just say, "Oh, he's impeding my right to enjoy my apple," and
that would be,
his company has all of these other companies defending them as well.
I got a question though for you, if that's okay. Can I ask a question real quick?
If a company won't go to court, then they don't have any backup. If they won't abide by the outcome of court, then they won't have any backup. They have to play by the rules judicially.
And if they both don't agree to a court, then justice can't be done. It ends
They're
up
going
in
to
a
agree to the court.
Can I ask a question now, please? So
Yeah.
I have a clarifying question for you, just real quick. So let's say you're under your ideal government. You have this ideal government in your head that you think that you would support, right? I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say this ideal government of yours, there's a bigger government that has more guns, more weapons, and they decide to take over your government. Now what?
Well, in that situation, a government, a nation state, always chooses to secure its rights.
No. The guys have more guns. They have more guns. They have big guns.
Then at the end of the day, my nation state gets taken over.
Oh, okay. So then you were just arguing, oh my god, your system is flawed because there's a chance of your nation's or your system being taken over by a larger force. But then when questioned about your system, it seems that criticism can also be applied to your system as well, it seems, right?
No, because once again, right, like if, let's say,
you did agree with me that your system could be taken over by a larger force, right? You did agree with that.
This is not like this is more of an apples. I think what you're comparing is like apples and oranges, because under my nation state, right, I can still take Joe Schmo to court.
Under our system, we can too.
Yes, in our system, you also
everything's voluntary, and if the two can't come to an agreement on what's justice to bring the...
We never said that you cannot enforce rights. That's the entire nature of the business of rights enforcement, is that criminals don't want to be punished for their crimes. You're doing it by force. If you take my apple, I'm going to go to my rights enforcement company and say, hey, this guy took my apple, and I want the apple back plus 3 more apples as restitution or something. They're going to go to your rights enforcement company and say, okay, seems your client committed a crime against our client. Those two go to a court, and you're found guilty.
In a court.
What?
In your system, there is no apparatus to allow these two enforcement companies to go to like an enforced mechanism to have these companies go to a court. If they can't agree,
there is though.
If they cannot, no, there is not, because if they cannot agree, you're left in a situation which results in violence.
They are economically required to agree to a court. I'll give you a modern day. And by the way, there have been. I described the system. The Brehan system operated on these principles. The Zier system operated on these principles. But I'll give you a modern day parallel. Right now, in the United States, we have a massive insurance. Incidentally, insurance companies are the most likely providers of rights in the Ancaps society. But I digress. Insurance companies have constant disputes between them, right? Car accident that their rules don't already provide for who pays out. They have constant disputes. Now, the most expensive and difficult and problematic way that they can resolve those disputes is litigation. They can bring it before a government court. That's perfectly allowed. It's on the table. However, they never do it, or they almost never do it. And the reason they never do it is quite simple. It's slow and expensive. The government courts do a shit job. So what do instead is they bring the matter before a private arbitrator. This is like the American Arbitration Association or the so on. There's lots of these private courts. And the insurance companies, when they have a dispute, they agree on a private court. Usually they've already pre-agreed before the car accident even happened. They bring the matter before a private court.
I get that. That's not the issue. The issue comes into play when they can't agree. Now, in a system where justice exists beyond the scope of voluntary agreements, they end up having to go to a justice who is in your system, which is permissible under my system, but not for you. In your system, it provides for no other method.
They are, in a sense, forced.
Violence.
They are, in a sense, forced to agree to a court. Because whichever one will not agree to a court, whichever one just says no to the other one suggests, or something, that one forfeits any backup. The other one retains its backup. The other one, with the backing of its partners, can now just.
It doesn't necessarily forfeit. It doesn't necessarily forfeit.
Yeah, that's like
Backup.
saying, yeah, a private company has the ability to throw their company into trash and lose all their money, right? They have the ability to do
No,
so,
because,
but they're generally not
if-
going to
if
do so.
I'm
They're
company A-
incentivized. They're incentivized not to do so because doing so will make them lose the money.
If I'm company A, my client is Joe Schmo, the one being sued, and I can, if I'm, I can, if I, come to a logical conclusion that no, the other person is just claiming that the apple was stolen. I have all these other contracts which you guys agreed to, and which I, can see being the case. Who would still potentially defend me and my company and my clients?
The issue isn't
Why would
whether or not-
randomly? Why
The
would
issue is
randomly they lose support? That doesn't make any sense.
It's because you're not willing to go to court. If you're not willing to go to court, you lose your backup. I'm only going to back you up if you agree to go to court.
Yeah,
that means you have to.
It's generally a pre-assigned agreement that if you get into a dispute with another person and you don't go to the court that is agreed to between the two private companies, that they're gonna lose. They're not gonna back you up in any dispute at all.
By the way, historically speaking, we saw exactly the contractual clauses that I'm talking about that necessitate that you go to court, you be willing to agree to a court and then abide by the outcome if you want backup. We saw this within the framework of the Brehan system, mutual surety contract partner associations. The same thing as the contractual alliances between the two AHA, which were their private armies. We saw the same thing. Similar existed between the war bands within the Zir system, as well as in stateless Zalmia, where you have a decentralization and a dispersion of the power to wield violence. Then what you always end up with pretty much is, I'm going to back you up only if you do everything to avoid conflict. You doing everything to avoid conflict is existentially required for this kind of a contract to be viable for me. Otherwise, I'm financially incentivizing you to go pick profitable conflicts, knowing you can externalize the cost to me. That doesn't make any sense for me to do that. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to back you up only insofar as you play by the rules, you be amenable to picking a court with the other company you're in a dispute with, and so forth. So Company A and Company B have a dispute. Company A says, okay, here's 10 courts that we're good with using. Would you be good with any of these? Company B says, no. Okay, here's 10 more. Would you be good with any of these? Company B says, no, we'll only go to the one that my cousin owns, or some ridiculous thing. Then Company B is clearly acting in bad faith. Company B is not being amenable to arbitration. Therefore, Company B is in breach of its contracts, which relinquishes any obligation of its partners, of its contract partners, to back it up. So in this scenario, Company A gets roll over Company B.
No, because maybe I'm Company C and I'm like, oh, actually Company B is being totally legitimate, and Company A, the guy defending Joe Smo over there, the guy who stole the thing, is being ridiculous. Look at all these random courts that they're
That's like
choosing.
saying that's like saying an
Company B
insurance
is-
company today, like if you have a car accident company right today, no insurance company is just going to back you up just to back you up simply because you're their client. If there's clear evidence that you got into an accident and you've committed the crime, no insurance company is just going to back you up just to back you up.
Yeah, that happens all the time. That happens all the time. You
Where?
look at human nature. Just like,
when does that happen? Could you give me an
friends.
example of any insurance company that just backs people up just to back them up even though they committed a crime?
Like even though you get a group of teenagers, somebody
Could you name one insurance company that has ever done that? Just one insurance company.
I don't have to answer about the insurance companies. This is just human nature. Like, if I'm best friends and my best friend hits somebody else and they hit back, I'm, maybe I go hit,
so you don't have a single example.
More on the point, if Company B is saying no to agreeing to any court, then Company B is clearly the one that is not going to have contractual backing. And if Company C looks onto that and says, for some crazy reason, hey, I'm going to back up Company B, they would, if First of all, they're not going to be insane enough to do that. That would be crazy. But even if hypothetically
that happens all the time. That happens all the time. Look at like middle school. Look at high school.
Could you name me one example? You say that happens all the time. Could you name one insurance company that's ever done that?
An insurance company, because this is just random human nature. Does not have. It's not dependent on or reliant on insurance companies.
This isn't a matter of human nature. This is a matter of economics. These are profit-seeking companies. They're not looking to arbitrarily spend enormous piles of money for no benefit. If hypothetically,
plenty of benefit in defending Company B if I'm Company C.
Not when Company B is clearly in breach of any contractual entitlement to back up.
You don't know that. Maybe there is.
Like,
Maybe
could you name me one insurance company that is in the business of insuring people who commit accidents?
Not dependent upon insurance companies.
Well,
this is just standard human nature.
The idea of Company C jumping in to back up B when B is saying, "Yeah, we're not going to agree to any court," that would be the equivalent of like if I burn my house down and then my insurance company says, "Oh, you burned the house down. We're going to pay out a claim on that."
Well, no, because maybe there's plenty of financial incentive to support Company B if I'm Company C. There could be some financial
could you name what is that incentive?
This would be
you're going to lose money.
This would be catastrophic for companies because it means obliterated in a war. In this scenario, that you have one company, if you have one company that won't go to court, the other one has the contractual backing of hundreds of other companies, whereas this other one is clearly in breach of contract.
No, it's not clearly. That's just it's not clearly in breach of contract. You haven't agreed to this. You're just assuming that.
Yeah, if you're saying no to every court proposed by...
Yeah, then you're breaching the contract.
Side, yeah, maybe all of those courts look terrible to Company B.
Yeah, okay, then if you have a pre-assigned agreement with those other companies...
Oh, look at all those terrible courts that Company A is proposing. They're all terrible.
What's up?
And now it's a makes right situation. Everyone fights. There's war. It devolves into violence.
I have to hit customer Pierce sober.
No. Also, what alternative are you talking about?
What?
To what?
Oh, I'm in a conversation.
He's doing DoorDash or.
I was actually just talking about that with my girlfriend earlier today. Weirdly enough,
the scenario is that Company A and Butte, right? Joe Schmo steals an apple from any size. Actually, for this scenario.
What? It doesn't matter. It could be big, small. It really doesn't matter.
Politician level influence or no?
Well, there are no politicians in this scenario, but they could be big companies, medium companies, for the same.
Yeah.
So, Company B is saying we're not going to agree to any court that you guys suggest. We'll only go to our cousin's court or something. And then
affiliate. Yeah.
This guy I was talking to was saying, well, back. See, the scenario is. Both companies have mutual other companies, but what we've seen historically in these kinds of scenarios is that the backup contracts, they always have a conditionality to them. I'm not going to back you up and submit my resources and capital and personnel to just protect you from the consequences of your actions, no matter what you do, right? Go pick conflicts and externalize the cost to me. That doesn't make any financial sense for me. So it's incumbent on Company B, if Company A, if they don't agree to any of those courts, to offer up reputable alternatives that the extended backup contract networks are going to look on and say, okay, you are being reasonable. You are being amenable to arbitration and trying to play by the rules.
Okay.
If you don't appear to be trying to avoid conflicts, then you're not going to have the backing of your contract partners, which means the other company can just roll you over. So it behooves them financially to be amenable to picking a court.
Okay. And now this is the interco, so there is no.
There's not a single monopoly.
Interesting.
Established set of rules and guidances and bylaws that they
through contractual means, yes.
Only for individual.
We could kind of hear you guys in and out.
Okay. Here, I was actually gonna mute.
No, you should put him on speaker, man.
Put him on speaker.
Yeah.
There is, in this situation, there's not a
monopoly.
There's not a monopoly. Is there any pre-existing guidelines or bylaws that establish what would come up in this current scenario?
So, historically speaking, we've seen anarcho-capitalist legal systems before, such as the Brehan system and the Zier system. What you tend to get is kind of a form of common law, you could say, where law is established there, like the Brehan. But
would you call that law, or would you call that policy?
I would call it law functionally, because it serves the purpose of dispute resolution.
Okay.
And it decides what's going to be enforced in a given dispute.
Okay, that's fair.
And they tend to have not perfect equality between them, but there will be a consensus on most matters within a given between the private courts. Now, of course, in a more diverse society like we have today, and much lower, it could very well be you have more variance. For example, maybe my rights enforcement company advertises they will seek courts that are against the death penalty.
Okay.
And yours advertises a pro-death penalty policy. Some courts are pro, some are against. Let's say your neighbor belongs to or patronizes a rights enforcement company that is pro-death penalty as well, right?
Okay.
Now, let's say that it's worth way more to my company to be able to advertise to its customers, will protect you from the death penalty, than it is worth to your company to be able to advertise to its customers that in disputes with mine, it'll establish a execution for anyone who murders them. So within that scenario, in all likelihood, if hypothetically I murdered you, I don't get the death penalty. But if your neighbor murdered, then he does. In other words, you have a different set of law between different, even if they're geographic. I know how weird and convoluted that
is. Let's say if 408, it's my apartment, y'all please don't dedox me. If I subscribe to Spotify has, I believe, in a death penalty.
I don't know why the music streaming company would be involved in that.
Yeah, I'm using it as just an example, but
they've branched out. They've diversified.
They subscribe to YouTube. They don't believe in the death penalty.
Right.
So are you saying that as a 408 person, if there is a situation where something happens to me from my neighbor who is in 7, let's say my neighbor 407 kills me, I'm subscribed to Spotify. They're subscribed to YouTube.
So Spotify and YouTube in this scenario, they have, in all likelihood, pre-agreed to what court is going to resolve disputes between them. Now, it's probably a series of side payments where, let's say that Spotify calculates that if they can promise its customers that in disputes with YouTube, they won't get the death penalty, no matter what, even if they kill someone, their death penalty will be off. In other words, the court they've agreed to with YouTube is an anti.
Yeah.
That's worth $700,000 to their. They'll make $700,000 more, right? Now, let's say to your company, or it's not your neighbor's company, to YouTube. They calculate.
It makes a little for me to understand if we just use shell companies.
Right.
Analogy.
YouTube, on the other hand, has a more a more pro-death penalty consumer base. They've calculated that it's worth about $1.4 million to them in, say, annual revenue or whatever. It's about $1.4 million value to them. So in this scenario, you likely will have payment where YouTube is paying Spotify to agree to bring murder cases between them to X court that has a pro-death penalty.
Third-party court that you're the original issue.
It's arbitration. It's the same way insurance companies resolve disputes today. And we have a parallel to this. So insurance companies have constant disputes. They don't want to go to litigation. That's the expensive option.
Yes.
That's kind of the parallel for war in the scenario. Litigation is very expensive, slow. That is government litigation. They don't want to do that. So they bring the matter much more cheaply. Arbitrator, like the American Arbitration Association. Within the Ancaps scenario, company A and B, they could theoretically, but war is very. Customers are free to elsewhere at cheaper competitors. Costs of war don't decrease with customers, which means as some leave, they have to raise price.
good for the economy. Actual war is bad.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a Keynesian myth.
You guys
it takes
you
think
kind
about
of
it
cut
like,
out.
well, I'm not talking to you, fool. Anyway, so it's a deal of on toward satisfaction of demand, things like hospitals and food and medicine, whatever, and instead puts it towards tanks and bombs. All of these resources that would have gone giving people what we most instead going to the political interest of gearing up to bomb that country or something like that. So I think this represents a massive. It creates shortages in the other sectors of the economy. They had.
So it's essentially the original fucking now. Let's say you make X amount of money in the economy by building, but all the windows are built. So just pay somebody to go around and smash all the windows. Problem solved.
There's broken window.
And now people are going to get money from breaking the windows with no actual economy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. To the guy who fixes windows, this is valuable. But to the broader economy, this is not valuable.
Yes.
This is a misallocate. This is a waste of resources.
Yes.
Those resources could have been.
I made a YouTube video on that. The broken window fallacy.
What the fuck is your guys' fucking Discord? I kind of want to join this shit.
So this is
You're live on YouTube right now, believe it or not.
His name is Ahmed Alu Akbar. It is not. It's Michael.
You should join us.
You guys actually have a very interesting. Let me grab my video.
Sure.
Get Michael in here.
Sorry, pretty's fucked up.
I got a weed vape if you want to hit it.
No, thank you. I have drug testing.
Sorry, that just made me laugh. I got a weed vape.
Don't get me wrong.
I just got done with, and I just got off it, so now I don't have to worry about being drugged. Do whatever I want.
Yeah, that's valid.
Used to be I could only do stuff they can't test for. Acid, and ketamine and stuff.
How do you add people on Discord?
You join a server. Okay, so you go here. Wait, I think I have to invite you.
Yeah, and what you could do is you could send him the Discord, this room, specific room, and message it to him.
I'm 101. Sure. I said my name because my name is my profile.
I mean, you can say whatever you want. That's up to you, man. But just know I'm live, so the people might hear you.
It is what it is.
All right, did you just get me?
Yeah. Notifications. Are you taxation? Yeah, you're probably taxation is theft.
My shirt says taxation is theft.
That makes sense.
Okay, once you add me, I can invite you.
Okay, we'll look for another notification.
Okay, there you go. You added me, and then. Let's see. Okay, politics. Invite. Maximum number of invites to this server reached? Oh, I've never heard of that.
Wait, I think I'm in it. No, I'm not.
It's a giant. It's like 102,000 people.
Send him my maybe I can invite him if you want.
Could you? Well, is that the maximum number thing?
So it's Michael AEL and then JAY 101.
Here, how do I?
Michael MICHAEL JAY 101.
Okay, Michael JHI.
No. Michael J 101.
Oh, J. Okay.
Yes, I made it when I was 12. Yes, you can fight me.
They had Discord when you were 12?
No, not Discord. That's what's been like my default.
Oh, well.
Okay, send you a friend.
It was Dragonvale was the first account I used that for. If y'all remember Dragonvale, you're fucking old.
I remember
Dragonvale. I'm playing World of Warcraft right now, so.
Oh hell yeah,
Lord
brother.
have mercy upon your soul, brother.
There's like World of Warcraft videos where it's like debates and stuff going on as the audio.
So I see taxation is theft, so I'm not seeing your invite.
KingSithis?
I don't see a KingSithis. Did you do AEL or did you do EAL?
AEL. Is it Michael J 101?
Yes.
Here, I just texted it to you, or DM'd it.
Yeah. Oh, it's
you're
spelled
playing
out.
Turtle
Got
WoW.
you.
Okay, it's a little better. You're playing Turtle WoW. You
you thought it was a
you may find
J.
grace in your
What?
life.
I'm not playing Turtle WoW. That's against the rules. That would be a violation of the. Shut up.
Nah, you got redemption points, bro. Good on you, buddy.
Okay, I
Your
sent you a
soul
friend
is
request.
not damned to hell.
You should definitely watch. You should go like my newest video I just uploaded today. Go do that, mate. Do me a favor. Do that, please.
God, I feel like such a fucking boomer sometimes when it comes to
I
stuff.
sent you my friend request. Okay, so Michael J, and then I'm pretty sure it's
Okay, now try to add him to the server. I don't know if it's that I've invited more than or the total number of server invites like for this server is at its maximum.
I mean, when it comes to anything,
There you go. Sent it.
Okay, he said he just sent it.
Oh, I just got it. And I will join. Go to server. All right, where are y'all at right now?
We're in the taxation is theft room.
Here. Oh, that's weird.
Taxation is theft room. It's like all the way on the bottom.
Okay. Let me stay in the server. Next. Blah, 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 blah. Agree and finish. Join politics. All right. War room? No, not war room.
No, that's like way higher up.
Jesus.
Scroll just shoot it to the bottom. It'll be one of those bottom ones.
Oh my god.
This is a huge server. 100,000 plus people in this server.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in here.
Anyone over a level 5, which I am, can create a voice channel.
Okay. So I'm by big right now.
Let me see. Okay, let's go. Oh, I guess they're a bit. There we go.
All right.
Wait, what's it say?
Verify your identity by phone.
Oh my god. Fucking government.
That's not government. That's Discord. That's like an anti-spam.
Well, the government has been moderated by Discord.
They've been moderated by Discord.
There have been assassination attempts that were conducted through Discord. So I know why they're doing it to cover their ass legally. However, I agree with y'all that it is bullshit that what should be an open forum is being moderated.
But I would think the server would have chosen this of their own volition, just to keep out the spam bots and stuff.
How do I...
Wait, what is it?
Do you know how to do this?
Let me see.
Try your thing, brother.
Yeah. You
don't look at my gallery. I got dick pics.
There. It would be like security, data and privacy. No, that's like a
maybe
account, phone. Okay,
there we go.
Pop in your phone number, text to verify or something.
AI bullshit. Which honestly, if you guys want to talk about some weird, we are all very savvy people when it comes to technology, but some of this AI shit that is coming out is fucking starting to make me question my own ability.
What, like to program AI or to use
videos?
AI? Oh. See, I use AI every day.
I love AI.
What do you do?
Just for like everyday life decisions, like should I text her this?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I do use AIs for like passwords because in my emails, Anson Wave, and then I say like, "Hey, make this more concise, make professional."
I use it for just about anything that could benefit from having like the humankind's information and the ability to cross-reference, different fields of information. I have a device, an app where I can consult a seemingly magical entity that knows everything about a geography and also psych, and also, you know what I mean? Oh, there you are.
Yeah. All right,
that's what I said.
All right, now let's get about your day. Fuck, I'm old.
What's up, bro?
What's up, brother? How you doing tonight?
You should subscribe to my YouTube.
What's your YouTube?
It's KingSithis.
Oh, same name?
Oh, they kicked me from the group?
What are you talking about?
Playing World of Warcraft, and they kicked me from the group.
So you said earlier, Michael, you were talking to your girl.
Yes, we were actually very specifically talking about different political takes on what the path to society was.
On what the what?
Okay. So I'm kind of writing a book about anarcho-capitalism, like about the economic. Well, I say kind of. It's called Markets Without Government. It's more broadly about the economics of anarchy. But one point that I make early in is that usually when there is no state, people tend to gravitate towards primarily market-driven economic activity.
Okay. I'm listening.
So, well, just if you have any questions about, such as how do roads work, or, like what exactly protects me from bandits, or how do you deal with national defense and stuff like that, like I can answer those kinds of questions.
Oh, that's fair. I thought you were about to make a point. But, so we were talking very earlier in the sense. We were talking about like John Locke's, Rousseau, and Hobbes, and what they thought all of the path to society began in. Hobbes had the most, what I would argue is lines with my world viewpoint, saying like, imagine a village that is living, and everybody in the village does different things, and they all contribute to the mutual benefit of the village. But that really only works in small scale. Once you start getting bigger, you do have to start having people who need to be administrators. And those administrators eventually turn into leaders. The leaders eventually get corrupt. And then that's what we see in society nowadays.
You know what's funny? I actually kind of reference, and I would say rebut, Hobbes as well as Locke as well as Rousseau in my book. Specifically 2 points. For Locke and Rousseau, the social contract theory. And for Hobbes, Hobbes argued for a war of all against all, right? The Hobbesian state of nature. Hobbes asserted that if you don't essentially have one guy with the biggest stick, one strong entity with a monopoly on force, then the inevitable outcome is constant warfare, right? I think the way he put it was along the lines of man's life would be brutish and short. Objects which require great force to move would not be moved, and so on. He was essentially suggesting you can't have any kind of society. But empirically, every time you don't have a monopoly on force, people continue to engage in a division of labor. People still operate markets because people still want to increase their own prosperity.
Yes. I think everyone operates in their own self-interest, and more often than not, they have a self-interest in making everybody else able to use more power and resources.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's lucrative for me also to offer you protection because you want protection.
Just about everybody wants protection. So the outcome of that, if there is, say, some kind of a shortage of interpersonal protection, if people are, for whatever reason, dependent, on their own guns, and they want more than that, then there is a demand for protection. And the outcome of that is not some, as Hobbes would imply or outright assert, endless war of everybody against everybody, but instead you get markets of protection.
Yes, I agree. However, I do think that a lot of his ideas and viewpoints of the world, it's really hard to apply to the modern day simply because of how massive the scale of things have become. And so that's why I can't really say that, like, with my knowledge of these bases, that I can accurately talk about what it would be similar to in today's time. Like, I'm not knowledgeable enough to be able to give intelligent answers on that part of stuff.
Now, Locke and Rousseau, by the way, I don't dislike everything I've read from them, but there's one thing they both argue for that I find to be nonsense, and that was social the basic idea is that, and they put it slightly different. Rousseauian version was along that man puts his power in common. These were essentially arguments for the moral legitimacy the state to do things that would clearly be unjust for anybody else to do. At a time when the divine right of kings was falling out of fashion. Back in those days, it had been the case that the king would justify his authority through God, basically, through an appeal to a religion. Yeah. But around the time of the Enlightenment and around the time of socially, even though people were still deeply religious, the idea of justifying political authority based on that was kind of, people were raising an eyebrow at that. And so it seemed to me like they bent over backwards and engaged in rather mental gymnastics to try to posit like a secular justification for the state. And Hobbes's was primarily consequentialist. Not that I agree with his reasoning. It was consequentialist stuff. Whereas in the case of Locke and Rousseau, they kind of just asserted that it's justified because everybody agrees to. But in practical fact, everybody doesn't agree to it. Certainly many people don't agree to it. If even one person doesn't agree to it, then their reasoning wouldn't apply to that one of the who doesn't agree.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair statement. However, if there is a group of, I'm putting this in very small terms, not in any way modern day terms, but if there's a group of 100 people and 98 of them want to do something that will benefit all 100 of them, but 2 people disagree, how do you make that judgment?
Well, it depends what you're asking.
Are you saying like the needs of the many outweigh the few? Is that like the argument you're making, or?
I don't know if that every individual is. And you guys go ahead and finish your thoughts, and then I'll say my part. So I feel like my question wasn't.
I wasn't going to say anything, so go ahead if you want.
I was just asking: is this a moral question or a practical question?
Let's go practical. I'm much more practical than moral. Which could arguably be a large point of my viewpoint, but it is what it is.
It kind of depends on the nature of what it is they're seeking to do. I got an Uber for Matthew. It depends on the nature of what they're seeking to do. I think, practically speaking, usually the 98 can do what they want to do while leaving the other 2 alone. The other 2 don't have to participate.
100 of the people to get the job done.
Then
what
I
if it requires the entirety of the units, is what I'm saying.
I think functionally the 98 should be at liberty to persuade the other 2. But ultimately, if it requires something of the other 2, their labor, something, then they shouldn't, I guess this is a moral statement, but they're not entitled to it. In the same sense that a
if you've got one perfectly healthy person, and then you've got 6 people who each, are on an organ registry, they need organs, different organs that could be supplied by, type O negative blood person, then I don't think they should be allowed to appease the needs of the greater number of people. In that sense, I don't embrace utilitarianism. I prefer one person owns themselves, and the circumstance and the needs of the other 5 or 6, or it can be 100. The number doesn't change it. However unfortunate that is, it doesn't entitle them to murder the one.
Okay.
And how you implement that ethic practically, at least in my preferred way of implementing that ethic, is having, you could say, an equalized dispersion of force through a free market in protection, where any given person whose rights are under attack can go to their rights enforcement company, which will then resolve the matter in arbitration, with an arbitrator that's trying to attract impudence, and therefore is likely to uphold rights that everybody wants for themselves, even if they don't want to respect those rights in others. I realize that may have been a little convoluted.
Private property rights are the best. I love it so much. I have a YouTube channel about it.
Also,
I will say this.
I only found this out like a year ago. If you buy 50 acres of land, you aren't actually allowed to dig that deep unless you have mineral rights. And then I've gotten to a fucking convoluted deep hole about mineral rights. And that's some fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I found that out if I bought my house, that some company has the mineral rights to it. Which,
The idea that you can own the rights to minerals, that's ridiculous.
I think if you extract some minerals from the ground, shoot.
All right. Do y'all think America is a Republican democracy, or is it a oligarchy?
It's not one or the other. Those things aren't mutually exclusive.
It's a state.
Oligarchy being corporations.
Right. I think generally speaking, the power structure that exists in the United States as it is you have politicians that superficially they are elected to power, but they generally, more often than not, they answer to corporate interests or otherwise, concentrated financial interests.
Yes.
It's to some extent
incumbent on them. These white bars are delicious. Thank you for delivering them.
Sure.
You better give them a 5 stars.
Oh shit! Yeah, you right.
It is to some extent incumbent on politicians to have some very elementary justification for what policies they vote for and stuff at the behest of their corporate sponsors. But practically speaking, number one, they're not usually going to get questioned about it. Most people don't know how most of their representatives vote most of the time. Hardly anybody looks into it.
Do you mind if I interject for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, so even regardless of the corrupt politicians that they are paying to vote in their interest to make laws in their case, I am thinking more of in the lines of they are able to hire and throw enough money into any case that is against them until the ruling is in their favor.
That is also true. Yeah, at the judicial.
I'm thinking more that way.
I think that's also true, but they often circumvent the need to do that by simply deciding what the law is at the legislative level.
Yeah, that saves them a headache for sure. But even if they do break the legislation, I'm saying that they can just pay a fine to make the legislation rule in their favor based on the very specific weird scenario and the way that they worded it.
I think that's often true, yeah. But I think often more powerful than, or often have broader, more sweeping impact, is the ability to do things like lobby for the creation of new regulations, use those regulatory agencies to do things like, impose onerous costs on their smaller competitors, or, ban a thing that is harmful to their entire industrial sector. Okay, for example, you've got Partnership for a Drug-Free America. That's the primary lobby behind the war on drugs. Now, Partnership for
Legalize
a Drug-Free America. What?
Oh, I just said legalize all drugs.
Well, yeah. But Partnership for a Drug-Free America is funded by alcohol companies, pharmaceutical, prison guard unions, police unions, a few other of those similar financial interests that stand to profit a great deal off of drugs being illegal. Now, I think the much larger interest is the dispersed interest, which is the people at large, people that use drugs, people that at the lower level sell drugs, or their families and so on, or even just simply taxpayers.
Thank you.
Have an interest in the drugs being legal, or at least are better off with them being legal. But it's much harder for a large dispersed interest to mobilize resources to, say, buy a law, to lobby and buy a law, than it is for a concentrated interest, right? A concentrated interest, it might be, 10 organizations that between them have billions of dollars. But if there's only 10 of them, it's fairly easy. We're going to profit 80 million. We'll put up 5 million. It's easy to organize. Whereas even if the larger pool of people stands to gain or save far more, say, $1 billion, if that larger pool of people is as dispersed in interest as, say, like the American, the odds.
You're kind of breaking in and out.
I'll put up $5, you put up $5, and we're going to go to 100 million other households and get them to play the same thing. It's much. Hold on, I'm doing a delivery at a hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's out here working.
Is he just? What is he doing? Like Uber Eats or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing Uber Eats.
Yes,
brother. He brought me White Claw.
Wait, did you get involved in this because he delivered something to you?
Yeah, basically, yes.
He Uber eated me 24 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 a 12 pack of White Claw, and then I overheard his conversation walking up and asked him some questions about it. That's how I'm here now.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's epic.
That's like, I don't know, it's really funny.
Yo, what's up?
Like,
I just
what's
got
up, brother?
kicked
How you
out
doing?
of a Muslim room.
We're Ancaps.
Are you British?
No.
I'm an Ancap.
You're an Ancap?
Yeah.
Really?
You guys for Antifa? You guys Antifa?
No.
No. I mean, it depends what you mean. If you mean are
we with the group? No.
What the fuck is Antifa?
I'm asking you guys
short for like anti-fascist.
You have a good one.
Yo, what's up, Chris? Are you Ancap?
Broadly, if you're asking,
is it like
are we against
rock group?
If you're just asking, are we against fascism? But I don't think
you,
being
you're part of the Antifa group.
No,
brother, you sound British. Are you British? You have the accent.
We're here to understand.
He sounds like it.
Part of, hold on, let me.
Yeah, you're British. Where are you from? You from Limerick? You sound like you're from the south. You sound like you're from Wales with you and the other chavs. Go find an orange-haired chav.
Hold on, I'm asking you guys a serious question.
All right, go ahead.
I was about to answer it. Let him answer the question. Go ahead. Sorry, what was you saying?
What was your question?
It was answering the question of whether he was Antifa or not.
No, we're not Antifa.
You cut him off.
We are not Antifa.
But he was answering it.
We are not with the group Antifa.
What kind of FBI shit is this? I don't think anybody here is fucking is Antifa.
I don't think they would send a drunk. I don't think they would send a drunk Britishman after a group as a fucking FBI sleeper agent.
That is style.
Well, if
Go back to
you're an
Wales,
FBI
Bubs.
guy, you might pretend
so.
to be a drunk British.
Look, if anybody was FBI, it would be me.
Maybe he used to be like fucking Scotland Yard.
I don't trust you.
Go back to the Scottish Yards, you cunts.
Yo, what's up? Are you Ancap? Are you Ancap? Are you Ancap?
Jesus, relax, Sithis.
I am handicapped right now, yes. I hurt my knee.
Oh no, the new person that joined. I was asking the new person.
Around these parts, we prefer the term.
Not you.
We prefer the
person
term
that joined in the group.
We prefer handy capable. You're handy capable.
Okay, I will make sure to use that term now from now on. Apologize if I offended anybody.
I'm super offended. Yeah, we're anarcho-capitalists.
Okay. Do you want a blowjob to fix your offense?
The fuck?
Whoa.
You heard me. I'm gonna use teeth. I'm gonna make that shit like a teeth grater.
If I let you fix my fence, you'll give me a blowjob?
No, the dude who got offended.
Nobody's offended.
I have been paid to let people do
tragic.
before. It's weird.
Yes, we're anarcho-capitalists.
Is that not what ANCAP is? It's some...
Anarcho-capitalist is a person who believes in anarchy and capitalism.
I do want to say I am not an anarcho-capitalist, but I am very intrigued by this political discourse, so that's why I joined it. I do believe that the future state of capitalism is anarcho-capitalism, where corporations can just do whatever the fuck they want based on the power they have, the money they have, the resources they're able to control, and the legal way, quote unquote, legal ways they're able to skirt the law. I'm thinking Cyberpunk 27.
So within anarcho-capitalism, there are no corporations. They would just be companies. Corporation is a figment of the state. It's a fictitious entity poofed into existence by government monopoly on law, whereby this non-existent entity is granted artificial personhood, allowing the owners to subvert tort liability. Within an ANCAP society, you don't have that judicial monopoly to create the corporation. Therefore, they would just be companies where the owners are liable. Now, they also would not...
So is that why that makes sense, because corp is Latin for the word body. So if you separate corp with body, company, that makes it a human, not necessarily a entity.
Yeah. The whole corporation, like the word corporation, actually, to my understanding, it has its roots in Italian fascism, weirdly. But anyway, within the ANCAP society, you don't have a judicial or legislative monopoly. You don't have the ability to regulate your competitors away. Therefore, markets would be a lot more dispersed and decentralized. It's not to say you wouldn't still have big businesses, but it would be much easier to hold them accountable for what they do, as you don't have this monopoly that can simply work for the highest bidder.
I think it's pretty cringe when people try to analyze like sort of economics or general like company structure through like a governmental lens. So if you look at everything through like what our societal layout's going to be, whether it's like ANCAP or whether it's like crony capitalism or any other thing, like it's always weird to analyze it through that, because at the end of the day, all these companies, whether it's like a big corporation or a small business or whatever, they're all just groups of people that are organized a certain way to try and make money and sell people shit.
So, hey, Chris, do you mind if I interject for a second?
Yeah, please.
I do agree with you, and I think that we are thinking of it on the scale of what we know, on our day-to-day interactions with the world and other people. But they are making good points in the fact that corporations and companies nowadays are on scales that are very difficult to process. Like,
how long would it take you to count $1 billion? Maybe we're counting by $1 bills.
It's obviously going to be difficult to conceptualize like a corporation as a whole because there's so many different like communities to the corporation and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, and capitalism, from what I understand it at least, like, is basically just describing like a natural state of affairs. It's like describing just like businesses making money in the world, which is kind of what we have now. I mean, there's government regulation, but the government's another body that moves against companies.
Regulation is evil.
Wow.
I think
agree to disagree on that one.
Regulation
I think
is
the
evil.
government generally works for the highest bidder, and consequently it creates a perverse market dynamic where the largest handful of players is able to artificially dominate entire industrial sectors. They're able to impose massive costs on their smaller competitors. They're able to subsidize their own inefficiency.
When you say government works for the highest bidder, like, I'm a little bit perplexed by that, because like when the government does something that's not necessarily working in anyone's interest, but like purely in the disinterest of the company, for example, whether it's like a climate regulation or like something similar. I don't know how you would say that. Like,
climate regulation's evil.
Sure, I can explain that. So when the government does something that hurts a company or hurts some companies, hurting company A is beneficial to company B. Even if say it's a climate regulation that even if it's also costly to company B, if company B is much larger, can afford it much more readily, then it's still a net benefit for them to hurt company A by that much.
So
oftentimes,
and like, at least like I'm Canadian.
Chris,
so maybe
go
it's
ahead.
different. Sorry, yeah, maybe it's different in different countries, but at least from the framework of like somebody in North America, I feel like you have to assume for like the system we have currently to work that the government works in somewhat good faith, and so you have to assume a level of altruism from the government.
Well,
like, they have interests that are like in the interest of
quick
people.
question for the group: we're all American? Yes or no?
I'm Canadian.
I am
Canadian. Okay, all right. I will keep that in factors with my future
Canadian?
conversation.
Canadian.
All right. So I will say, with the company bailouts that happen, these. Never mind. I lost my point. You guys continue the conversation.
Well, I think if you're looking at company bailouts, it's an interesting thing to analyze. Like, I think people
Corporations should not be bailed out.
Sure, I mean, people can say that because it feels fair under like an anarcho-capitalist system. But at the end of the day, like, I think the reason the governments bail out these companies is that you have huge job losses if these companies go belly up, which like overturns your economy a little bit. Yeah, but it's really damaging to a country's economy if like a massive company.
Well, sometimes it's a misallocation of scarce resources.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? Like let's say you have, for example, this is gonna be a little bit extravagant, but like you have, for example, like the current situation in America where like a lot of the economy is held up by a couple of tech companies, right? So if like fucking Google
abolish IP.
Okay, well, I feel like you have a really radical position.
KingSithis, stop saying buzzwords. If you want to join the conversation, join the conversation.
That is a good answer to his argument. I
was just gonna say that like it feels bullshit. For example, if like Google gets bailed out by the government, and like
absolutely, I agree.
It feels really stupid. But at the end of the day, like if Google goes belly up, like fucking thousands of people lose their jobs. It's really horrible for the economy. But then you have people that are like antithetical to the country that the
abolish IP, and then there'll be other companies that can copy them.
So for example, like the U.S. government has like a.
Do you mean intellectual property whenever you say abolish IP?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
Really radical position.
It's not radical.
That's absolutely.
I'm on the fence about that one.
How's that radical?
Abolishing intellectual property.
Yeah, it clearly is radical. I agree with abolishing IP.
I don't think it's
saying it's reasonable doesn't make it not radical. Anything that goes strongly against common view is radical. What we believe is radical shit. I wanted to say a minute ago that the phenomenon where you have concentration of single, where if that company goes,
cutting out.
You're kind of cutting in and out. I don't know.
The scenario where you have so many jobs relegated place. That is where one company has such dominant market share that if that company goes under, then it's putting an insane amount of people out of their jobs and so forth. That is in itself a creation of the state. That company utilized the state 100% of the time to get to the artificially advantaged position that they're in, where they occupy so much market share within their sector. So if you get rid of the state...
Do you mind if I interject for a second, guys?
Yeah.
So if I may, I would argue that yes, there are some companies that have been propped up by the state and by the government, and they continue to stay propped up and be able to stay in the position they are in. But there are also other companies that, through their own efforts and volition and establishing infrastructure outside of any state efforts, have established how big they are in the economy.
Like a really good way of grounding out what Michael is saying is like to go to sort of like the straw man hypothetical. Let's say we could, suggest like a bakery that becomes so big they just keep hiring employees that like through no means of the government they just become this like huge company that has like 50 different locations and they employ all like thousands of people.
Is there anything like legally stopping another person from coming in and competing with them?
No,
but
I'm saying that like when you have like so much of like a country's economy wound up in like one bakery, for example, just sort of hypothetically, like if that company just like dies on a stupid decision, well, okay, I mean, in fairness, we would say, well, the company should die and people should find other jobs, but you have like nefarious actors in other countries that would just like scoop up those employees, and then the country gets into really weird turmoil. And so, the governing body of the country has a responsibility to try and like maintain, the well-being of the citizens. I don't know.
Things like that
like
is going to be. I would say things like that is going to be extremely rare because like it's. I don't really see one company being able to buy up all the bakery companies in an area or even in the United States. I think it's pretty much impossible.
This is just hypothetical, and we're not saying all the areas. Yeah. We are just saying a large enough portion of the market to where if they went out of business, many people would be affected, and it would affect the overall.
All of this is like. All of this is purely just to say that like people have a conception of like government bailouts for large companies, that it's like lining the pockets of the rich and that it's this like horrible thing. But no,
so I run a company.
There is actually like a good reason that governments do this. Like it's not just to like make people rich. Like
Hold on, let me substantiate real quick, right? I just want to make it elaborate real quickly here, right? I run a multi-billion-dollar weapons company, and yes, we have received.
Don't believe you.
Yes, all these bailouts do is they don't bring us to the bottom line. They flood our fucking pockets. They flood my pockets. I mean, Jesus Christ, I can take 80% of the fucking loan and then spend 20%. Yes, free Palestine. Yes, but you're.
Yeah, I don't really care about Palestine right now.
You're right. You understand? Bailouts are nothing more than corporate welfare.
It is corporate welfare. It's literally just the government taking our money, going into our pants, reaching in there, snatching our money, and giving it to some rich guy.
Is it the problem with purporting for these kinds of like anarcho-capitalist stuff? If you just want to have like such a simplistic view of things, like you're never gonna really understand like what are these decisions?
I mean, listen, bro.
Well, like,
I'm curious. I don't. It's not simple. I mean, it may be simplistic in the sense that I don't want to be robbed. I mean, if that's simplistic, then I guess so.
Well, no, but I'd be curious as you like when you see like a big like a airline company getting bailed out, for example.
That's
like,
bad.
What do you think the good faith interpretation of why that's happening is? If everybody's acting in genuine interest people.
The idea behind it. The idea behind it is to because they believe that a whole bunch of people are going to be fired. They don't want those people to be fired, so they'll bail out that company to keep it alive, so those people don't get fired. But I say I don't care. Let them get fired, because if another company can do a better job at a cheaper price, then I say let them do so, as opposed to that company. If they fail,
so what
then
happens?
they fail.
What happens to your country?
Bailing out a company in order to save jobs, compelling the taxpayer to bail out a company in order to save jobs. I know it doesn't sound like it at a glance, but ultimately it's a misallocation of resources. It's taking resources that would have otherwise been used in the most productive capacity, that is in direct service of the values of the owners of that money, and placing it
also
with a firm that has proven itself not the most productive allocation of those resources.
But I guess here's a difficult thing just to get my head around. Like you said, you're all American, right?
Yes.
I am. Yeah.
This is gonna sound really stupid, but like, do you guys like have a genuine belief that like parts of the rest of the world want to like subjugate America? Like, do you believe that like Russia would destroy America if they had the chance?
Probably, yeah.
I think it's much more concentrated.
Brother, there's a reason we don't have subsidized healthcare.
But that's
so
why we're
I was
against the
actually
state.
Hold on. I was born in
Abolish
Russia.
subsidized
I have
healthcare.
lived in China. I have lived in the Middle East, and I assure you that these countries do not give two flying fucks about your country.
Absolutely not true. But
That's
again,
why fucking
They want our
European
money.
countries think about us constantly. But genuinely,
The
no,
only
there
thing
is
these
no fear
countries think about
in
is
America.
your weapon.
But
Well,
that
Michael,
we will be subjugated by other countries because of
should
how
be.
large our military is.
Abolish the
That's
United
That's the
States
only
military.
reason why.
But all I'm saying is that like on a broader level, that like other countries do want to be the top dog the way the U.S. is, right? And the U.S. having such a strong economy and such a powerful
That's why we're
like,
against the
dollar,
state.
Sure, but it's one thing that can be usurped. So yeah.
That's why we're
They
against
want
the
to
state.
buy.
Hey, Chris. Hey, do you guys mind if Chris finishes the thought? What he
No,
was saying?
I was good. I was good there. I was just saying like
Oh, you
there
were
are
good there?
countries that want to usurp the U.S. Yeah.
No, okay,
So
as
you guys
Ancaps, we
mind if-
don't. As
think
Ancaps,
that's
we don't
questions
believe in.
towards us.
Concept, as Ancaps, we don't believe in the concept of countries. But that said, people in other parts of the world, people in other countries, they want to buy our beef from us, buy our liquid natural gas and electronics and so forth, and
Hold
they
on.
want to sell us stuff.
Can you not
Not your
interrupt
beef.
him, please? Can you not interrupt him, please?
Well, can he not make
Hey,
false
guys,
points?
Can you
Guys,
hold on?
guys,
Stop,
guys, who has the
guys.
stick?
One at a time. One
Who
at a
has the
time.
stick?
Faraway people would like to do business with us, as they constantly do. That is their primary preoccupation with us, is that we're a major trade partner. As the saying goes, Frederick Bastiat, if goods do not cross borders, then soldiers will. China and Russia and so forth, whether we're talking about their population and their government, they're far more interested in having us as trade partners than as warfare opponents.
Well, so I'd be curious to sort of question the anarcho part of the ANCAP stuff. I guess you said you don't believe in countries. Is that?
I regard countries as like a made-up nonsense concept.
Okay, well, so just I mean, humor me if you will.
Abolish
but, like,
borders.
Do you believe in like a police force being necessary?
Not in the socialistic format. I think we should have private markets of protection, that your insurance company should sell you the service of rights enforcement in the same sense that you get
Well,
food.
how do you enforce any rights without like a governing body having a police force?
So let's say I'm Geico, right? I'm an insurance company. I provide unification of people and now I'm in a unique economic position that I can sell those people rights enforcement. That is, I can have, say, a dispatch they can call to send private officers to their location to protect them, investigate crimes, and so forth. Stuff people currently look to the police to do. I can have that stuff provided to them for cheaper than anybody who's not an insurance. Because by doing so,
you're advocating for you're advocating for oligarchy, and like you see this in parts of the world that don't have like the firm like rigid government structure that like the U.S. and North America does. But
hey, guys,
you literally are.
I think and behold the new guy joined the chat has something to say.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to say something?
No, I have nothing to say.
Okay, if you don't mind,
Sorry,
I'll just carry down. So like, I feel like taxation stuff like I understand your perspective, and I think that it's fair, but like you are advocating for oligarchy because like literally what you're saying is that if you have the like economic situation to pay like a private police force to enforce like your will, you can. But like at the end of the day, you're supplanting.
It's not. I'm not talking about a scenario where it's like limited to elites or something like that. It's like when you walk into a grocery store, you don't just see like they're auctioning off caviar and lobster to the highest bidding elites. That's not how it works. No, when you walk into a grocery store, you see Pop-Tarts and cereal and pasta and rice and so on. They make the bulk of their money by pandering demands of everyday average, and it's no different service of rights.
But everything that you see, like, it's under the framework of like a liberal established government that has like a police force. At the end of the day, if you had,
you guys
like,
mind if
companies,
I jump in real quick?
Okay, let me finish my point if you don't mind, real quick, and then please jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, what you sort of would have is like a situation where your grocery store, if there's no police force, and your private military isn't around, why wouldn't I just rob it? Like I would, you know what I mean? Why wouldn't you?
It would be easier to do that now, where the only
taxation is theft. do you mind if I jump in? Is that okay?
Sure. After that, I want to answer, but go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. So basically, if I'm putting it down to the basic most bitch points, what you're arguing is that the higher level of capital that you have gets you a higher level of security. So, and there is no guarantee for a basic level of protection if people can't afford it.
Which is oligarchy. I mean,
well, except that protection would be no less accessible to the poorest average people.
But it would be because if you don't have. Sorry.
If you're poor,
do you mind if I reply to? Hey, taxation. Do you mind if I reply to your point you just made?
Well, I didn't actually get to substantiate it.
I know you didn't finish it. I'm sorry, but do you mind if I make a counterpoint?
Sure.
Okay. So, you were saying it is available to all the people who can get it. However, what if you're such a broke bitch that you can't even afford what the poorest Temu ass security team can get you? Like, you're shopping on Xiaohei for looking for a Temu security force, but you still can't afford that. Are you no longer protected by the agencies?
Even within that framework, you can get free justice through the process of claim subrogation. This is where claims of restitution are transferable. Let's say I'm a homeless...
But transferable under what? If there's no government, it doesn't matter. You can claim anything. If it's the Wild West, it's Ancap, you just fucking ride over anybody.
Well, in the Old West, they did have legal systems, private legal systems.
But that's backed up by a government with police force.
No, it wasn't. There were parts of the Old West that didn't have any trade. There have been other ANCAP societies that didn't have any trace.
If you appeal, like, let's say I'm somebody that's like moderately wealthy, okay, and I have like a small size police force. I can't take on like Amazon or anything, but I could beat out some like local grocery store, and I steal from them, and they appeal to like the claims court of whoever. Who's to say I can just? Why can't I just kill them all? Like,
let's walk through the scenario. Right? You go rob a grocery store. Now, that grocery store, they call their rights enforcement company, and they say, hey, this guy robbed us, right? Now, that rights enforcement company wants to come after you. I know where this is going to go next. You're going to say, what if I...
You're talking with the police, right? You're talking with the police. But...
Well, it's not a socialistic monopoly like municipal police or something. It's a vastly competitive market. They call their right.
Saying the police, if the police had like a fucking financial obligation to themselves.
I'm not sure what you're referencing in this scenario.
So what you're suggesting is that you would go off to some other company that's like paid protection essentially, and you would say, well, they stole from me, so we'll kind of get you guys to take the money back. But at the end of the day, these people are in your situation, like guided by a profit incentive, the same way like companies are. The reason
regardless of system, everybody is guided by a profit. Nothing is not for profit. Everything.
But the police aren't, because the police are funded by like taxpayer dollars, so they get a lot of the budget.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though: police enforce laws.
Hey guys! There's a new person. He wants to say something. Let him speak.
Right enforcement agency, you would be paying an institution, an organization, to enforce your rights that you actually want to have enforced, not to go around enforcing arbitrary laws that offend people, like, for example, using drugs.
Yeah,
well
that is also true.
David Friedman has a fantastic lecture about this. I'm going to post it in the chat. Sorry to interrupt. Go on, gentlemen.
This is true. That's I think a very good point. You distill by taking protection out of the public sector and putting it into the private sector. You distill the cost. It is a very good thing. And one reason it's a good thing is that you distill the costs from being arbitrary political enforcement of whatever crap is bought by elites for legislators to pass. Instead of that, you distill it as being only actual...
You guys just can't... You guys must allow him to finish his sentence before... and then once he finishes his sentence, then you guys respond. Because you guys just keep interrupting him.
I never actually got to finish the scenario. So grocery store then goes to their rights enforcement company and says, hey, this guy robbed us, right? The grocery store's rights enforcement company, let's call it Company A. They call up the rights enforcement company of the robber, Company B, let's say. Now, these two have agreed, and you can object to this, and we'll go on. I can go on the reason why they do this. These two have agreed that in the event of a dispute between them, which will inevitably happen, they're going to bring the matter for the mediation. It's a private court. It sells the service of dispute resolution. Now, if one of them either will not agree to any court, or will not abide by the outcome of court, that one is relinquishing any backup contracts it was party to, whereas the other one isn't. So they would, in that scenario, be overpowered, regardless of disparities in size between the companies.
Yeah, it's like everything you're talking about is like normal, like shit that happens in our current society. You're even appealing back to like some court as like, you know, mediating over these contracts, but like in an actual
It'll be privatized
system. But privatized, you're using that as like shorthand for like it'll have some governmental structure. At the end of the day, if it's ANCAP, truly, you would just bowl over somebody else. You'd kill them all and take their shit. Like,
then you would be prosecuted for murder by the rights enforcement company of your.
What? That's the government. You're talking about the government.
Understand? There's nothing inherently governmental about law, or about protection, or about rights enforcement,
There's
or about
nothing governmental about protection and rights at fucking.
That's correct. All of these things have been handled in societies that had no government whatsoever.
I don't know what you think a government is. If there's a body that is like someone you appeal to for like somebody stole my shit, go fix that. That is a government.
Okay, it's if hypothetically you hire me as a bodyguard, and then if you hire me as a bodyguard and I promise to protect you and your stuff, and somebody comes up and slaps you, and they grab your wallet, and then you turn over to me and say, hey, this guy just took my wallet, and then I go retrieve it for you, you wouldn't call me a government. I am enforcing your in this scenario, but nobody would call me a government in that situation.
That's fine, but if you have militias that you want to appeal to as saying this person stole from me, I appeal to my militia to go kill somebody else, then sure, that's the Ancaps that we're talking about. That's different than like you have one appealing body. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I think taxation is theft. Yes, it is. I'm trying to put it in a weird, good way. You are taking situations that are person by person and conflating it with society v. society issues, which that is a drastic gap to compare the same issue.
That's not the problem. But
in every dispute, you have one person or organization that is in conflict with another person or organization of people. And both of them within the Ancap society, each of them has their own private rights enforcement provider that they get on the free market in the same way that you get food and clothing and so forth. They get that also through the market protection. And then in order to adjudicate the dispute, the two firms bring it before a whatever court they find agreeable between them.
Okay, so
right?
Can I cut you off, please? I'm sorry. Like, this is astounding to me. Like, this is like a luxury position to hold. Everything that you're describing is, again, viewing like capitalism through like a lens of a liberal democracy framework. You're viewing it as like, oh well, like it would be ANCAP, but we can still appeal to the courts. If you want to have true anarcho-capitalism,
every ANCAP will tell
there's
you.
No courts in ANCAP. It's about companies competing against each other. How the fuck is there courts in ANCAP?
There are courts. Every anarcho-capitalist society has had courts. Every ANCAP will tell you there are.
You could have kangaroo courts, but unless you have one governing body over these companies,
the state
you can't
does
have
not.
courts.
The state. We don't believe that the state should have a monopoly on courts.
Right. It wouldn't be a monopoly on courts. They would be competing courts in the same sense that the American Arbitration Association is in competition.
How do you have competing courts? If I go to a court and I'm found to be the
Hold on. You do realize there's competing courts, competing private courts in the United States right now.
There is an overarching.
I know there are 27 injunctions against Donald Trump right now. However, only 3 of them have gone through because of other fucking injunction courts ruling against it. Yes, we know. That's where we're at right now. However, in this specific scenario that we're talking about, we are looking for who is the entity that is overseeing these corporations, not corporations, sorry, that's not a thing in anarcho-capitalism, these entities, these businesses, courts. That's what we know. Sorry for getting angry, guys. I apologize.
Broadly speaking, it is the market. That is to say, if you have a court that is adjudicating unfairly, that has that has
the market.
Wait, wait, hang on. Here, that's a good example though, because the problem is like if you have a court that has like a financial interest in like some shit like that, like a private court. If I have a bad decision from a court that disagrees with me, why wouldn't I go shop to another court? And then how do you ever have justice? I would just say fuck you to the court. I'd walk away to another one.
If hypothetically you don't go along with the outcome of an arbitrator that you've agreed to, you're not going to have any backup in a conflict that follows.
Exactly. It comes down to conflict. But then, if I can pay enough people to beat out the court and kill them all, then I would just win. I'd be an oligarchy. Like,
there would be no point of the court if you weren't agreeing to abide by the outcome.
But nobody would agree to that, because if I could pay enough people to be more militaristic than the court can like defend itself, then I would take over.
Wait a minute. The court isn't the enforcer. The court doesn't have an army. Courts have no role in enforcement, typically speaking.
And the court's useless against any ANCAP company. If I'm like, why would I ever listen to a court if I could just kill everybody there? Like,
that's not their purpose. They're not there to be enforcers. They're there to adjudicate disputes. And
they can't adjudicate. They can't adjudicate anything if there's no backing to say that I can't just kill the court.
There is backing. There is backing. It's just not the court handling the backing.
But where's the backing?
The court doesn't have any backing.
Hold on, guys. We're speaking all at once, guys. So let's try to tone it down and allow taxation to make his argument.
What could be very reasonable questions for you to ask, you're not doing it in the format of just asking a question about how things work. You're just asserting that there is no answer to it.
Because there isn't.
But there is. You could use like a credit score agency. That's what David Friedman talks about in his lecture. You end up having like a third party organization that ranks different individuals and different businesses a sort of a contract score of the degree to which they will abide by like court rulings.
And the reason I'm asking questions in like an interrogative style is that like I don't think you have a good answer for it. Like if you want to advocate for anarcho-capitalism, but you're saying that we're going to appeal to all these like courts and stuff. At the end of the day, somebody with a bigger gun will come around.
You may not think it's good, but that's personal opinion.
The disparities in the amount of force that each company has are rendered irrelevant by the presence of horizontal enforcement contractual network mechanisms.
There's no contracts if it's anarcho-capitalism. At the end of the day,
there are contracts. We do believe in contracts.
Anarcho-capitalism is based entirely around contracts.
Yeah, we do believe in contracts.
Contracts.
If you don't believe in a police
courts
force,
and law, these things don't.
We do believe in a police force. We just don't believe in a private. We believe it should be privatized.
Okay.
So if it's privatized, why don't I buy the police force? Like, why couldn't some company come and do that?
You would have an easier time doing that now. Look, you are able to
be competing with other people who want to buy the police force.
Hold on, guys. Taxation, you go, and then Mr. Boog, you go after him.
You can purchase a company that sells the service of rights enforcement. That's perfectly allowed. However, that doesn't mean that you can mobilize them to go commit aggression with impunity. That's the one thing no one.
When you say allowed, what do you mean by allowed in an anarcho-capitalist system?
Nobody is stopping you. If you, let's say there's a company that makes $5 million a year, and you come along with $20 million, and you say to the owners, hey, I think your company is very profitable. I'd like to buy your company, and they agree to that. Then you can buy their company for $20 million. Nobody.
When you keep saying can in an anarcho-capitalist system. What can you not do in an anarcho-capitalist system?
Aggress.
What you cannot do in an anarcho-capitalist system is initiate force or violate.
Who's going to stop you?
Contract with impunity. Who's going to stop you? Who's going to stop you is the right
economic incentive to not be committing and initiating violence, essentially.
That's like hippie bullshit.
You're a violent person. They don't have anything to do with it.
Important question. Who's going to stop you is the rights enforcement companies of your victims.
So the police.
As well as the extended backup
private police, yes.
The police.
Yeah, privatized police, yes. Guys, we're doing it again. We're doing it again, guys. We're doing it again.
Sounds like just Amazon will just rise from the ashes by the police force and by the courts. Yeah.
Yeah. What is meaningfully different between like a privatized and public police for you? Like,
when you say there are no public, they're not public. So when we say police, usually the word police has an implication. Usually the word police has an implication of being a monopoly, of being tax funded, of being a socialistic public institution. Whereas in the anarcho-capitalist system, there's none of that. In the anarcho-capitalist system, you have many competing companies that each sell the service of rights enforcement.
This is not a real worldview. This is like.
What do you mean? It's
It
very real.
is. It is.
You have
very
like
real.
a lack of monopolization of violence if there's decentralized policing power. Like, this is truly true. What do you mean?
At this point, you have like private feudal armies that are just for contract. Like, this is like medieval Italy where they just like hire companies to like fight each other for wars and shit like that.
Except the customers are, in this scenario, the customers are everybody. You as an individual, you are subscribed to a company.
Guys, stop interrupting him. Stop interrupting him.
You as an individual, as just a basic, ordinary lower middle perhaps individual, are subscribed to a company that they don't give you some robust personal platoon of bodyguards or something, but what they will do is there's a dispatch service, and if somebody breaks into your house or attacks you or something like that, you can call the dispatch. They'll send officers to your location. If there is a crime committed against you, they'll investigate the crime and try to hold the criminal. And then when the criminal has their own rights enforcement company, in all likelihood, and they will then figure out what court company to agree to with the criminal's rights enforcers, and then they will send probably representation to argue your case and try to get rested.
Oh, they would just kill you.
The thing you're arguing, I understand for like criminals, I guess, like low-level criminals who don't have any like backing or anything like that, how you could possibly like hold them accountable. But anybody with 10 guys and bats can hold anybody accountable anywhere in all of society ever. So that doesn't really accomplish much. But like the thing that I think Chris was focusing on is if you have two people who have a contract dispute, some major contract dispute, like it might ruin my life if I don't get my contract fulfilled, or it might ruin their life, and I just hire like a bigger security firm than what they could afford, and I just use that to muscle them out and say like, well, I'm not going to respond to any of your like subpoenas or contract request disputes or everything like that. Like, I'm just going to keep going and using let's say it's some property or whatever.
Sure. Let's play out that scenario. Okay, person A and person B, they have a contract. Person A hires a bigger security company than person B has. It doesn't matter that company's bigger. It actually makes no difference whatsoever. Disparities in number of guys and amount of wealth between irrelevant by the dynamics of force within a framework of mutual backup. So company A, when company A first enters the market, it's immediately obvious to them, hey, I'm not the biggest army. I need to make sure I can't just be rolled over by whoever has a bigger army. So the way they solve that is they go to every other company operating within the same markets or even nearby markets, and they say, okay, I'm going to back you up. You back me up. But I'm not going to back you up unconditionally. I'm going to submit my capital, my personnel, and resources to your conflicts that you're initiating, allowing you to me. What I will do is I will back you up conditionally, and there's always that say along the lines of you have to be willing to you have to do everything possible to avoid conflict. You have to be willing to agree to a court, and then you have to abide by the outcome. And if
people don't work that way, if you don't have a backing of the police being willing to like enforce a moral authority of people, it doesn't work.
Okay. The system I just described is exactly the system that has.
The system you described allows for like mass cheating if somebody wants to bully other people with military force, and that will always happen.
It's kind of the opposite. This is how you create an equalization of the power to wield force between people, where no person or company
in a situation. But people won't do that. There will be bad faith acts that will come along and bully people militarily. What you're describing
there's nothing on like incentive. Only if it's more profitable to bully someone militarily than it is to negotiate. Negotiation is usually cheaper.
Why would I negotiate something? I might take
something like
because war is a lot more expensive than negotiating with people.
That's only assuming it's an actual war. Like if it's just one guy, let's say one guy had like this piece of property and he rents it out, and there's some dispute, and the other guy isn't willing to pay, and you just don't have any money because it's already under a contract dispute. Like, what do you do? Like, you don't have much capital, so nobody really has a financial investment. The other guy might just be able to pay off anybody who'd be relevant around you. Like, in that case, you have no recourse. You're just fucked.
His insurance company has an interest in not having to pay out a.
Why?
On
He has nothing.
He has an insurance company. Do
Well, yes,
people just
everybody-
insure everything, including their property, like their entire land?
Yes, people usually do that.
Do people do that? Do people insure their entire acreage of land? I don't think so.
But
They might insure their house, but
as anarcho-capitalists believe that
very common.
Oh, go ahead, Boog, Mr. Boog. Go ahead.
No, I'm just comment.
If the land is very valuable, then it often is. For example, if you have you probably do have insurance for the.
If you have cut out real bad.
If you have some low value woods or something, you may not choose to get it in. But people who have people who own a golf course or something like that.
Yeah, you're kind of real bad right now.
KingSithis, can you help this guy out here?
Hold on.
Yeah, so I can make the argument for him, but which is basically under the anarcho-capitalist system, what you would most likely expect is that insurance companies would probably take up the mantle of rights enforcement protection, because what they would do is they would insure your person and your property against harm or torts against any other individual. And what they would generally do is have some sort of pre-assigned agreement that you have to agree to, that if you violate person's rights or if you harm another person, you would have to go to their pre-agreed to court. And if you don't, then they wouldn't back you up in the case if somebody violates your rights. And let's say if there's another.
What if I don't have insurance?
Well, then if you don't have insurance,
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna just say what you would normally say, which would be the claim subsidization or something like that, which would basically be subjugation. Subrogation.
No. Subrogation. Yes.
Subrogation. Which would basically is the idea that if you have a claim against another person, because as libertarians we believe generally in restitution-based.
What, libertarian? I thought you were anarcho-capitalist.
Well, we are anarcho-capitalist libertarian.
That's very different.
Do you want to hear the argument, or do you just want to make snarky comments?
I want to hear about the subrogation. I want to hear. Tell me.
So basically, the idea is that under anarcho-capitalist, we believe anarcho-capitalist libertarian or Ancapistan, which a lot of people would make the argument for, is that a lot of the crimes would be paid through restitution as opposed to jail time or things like that. So if you have a claim against another person who violated your rights, you can sell that, and you could basically transfer the title of that claim to another person,
like a tort claim.
Yeah. So let's say that there's a group of lawyers who could take on. He could be like, "Hey, I'll give you a portion of my tort claim if you basically represent me in the court," and then they will basically represent you. And if they know that they're going to win, then they'll basically get a portion of the restitution.
Claims,
and actually, there's actual examples of this in real life, where say if you are there's called what they call injury lawyers, where if you get your leg broken at your job because your job was sloppy, that those people will take up your claim, and actually you don't have to pay anything at all. And what they'll do is they'll take a portion of the restitution that's paid out to you.
Right, but who advocates who's right or wrong? So if
I've tried that 15,000 times.
And you break, my question would be: you don't have a contract for me to landscape. You pay me $10,000. I don't do the landscaping. You then take me to court.
You can take it to an arbitration. Yeah.
Okay, who's arbitration?
Dude, I've tried, Timothy. I've tried.
I mean, you guys can make your laugh and smark your narcs, but that's not an argument against my.
The thing is that the only thing that would matter to any company purchasing it is whether or not it can actually win and then be able to collect. Like, if I win in the court, but I don't have any ability to collect, then that doesn't really mean jack shit.
Well, that's sort of where the rights enforcement agencies come in with their, with their.
Rights enforcement agency? What is that? I wasn't here as you described it.
Rights enforcement agency.
What police are they? Can I hire them, or is it like a private firm, or what is it?
It's a company that sells service. It's a company that sells the service of rights enforcement. It's the
Isn't that
Ancap.
literally what the guy in this situation just bought? Doesn't he already have it?
Yeah, he went
He
to a
probably
judge,
already
right?
has it. Yeah,
Okay, so
probably
I
have
have a rights claim. Okay, all right. Let's just restart the hypothetical so we can run through it what it looks like. So there's two guys. One has a piece of land. The other guy has some contract to use it or whatever. There's a dispute. He doesn't want to pay the guy who holds the contract. So the guy says, like, well, fuck. Like, I don't really have any money. I don't have any capital. I have this piece of land, but it's not really worth much if it's in a contract dispute. I'm going to take this. I'm going to run to the court and say, hey, here's my case. I'm going to have them adjudicate. Hopefully they side with me. And if they do, then I can take that claim and I can go to one of these insurance companies. Let's just say I don't have insurance. I can take to one of these like tort claim companies that exist that specialize in reclaiming my value. I could sell it to them. So I'm only going to get a portion of what I'm going to get out of it. Probably a pretty small portion, if we're honest, because it's going to take a lot of money probably to get this money back. So I'm out all of that. I'm going to take it, and hopefully that insurance company not only thinks they thinks that they can would have to buy it with the idea that they'd actually be able to enforce any of this upon the other company. And they'd hire a rights firm, but this firm, the original firm, already hired a rights firm. That's what all these firms are.
Okay, so you're kind of putting the cart before the horse a little bit. The scenario of claim subrogation is that some crime or tort has been committed against you. You, for whatever reason, you don't already have your own rights enforcement insurer. And so you go to a company and sell your claim of restitution to them. It's transferable. And then they take up the case. You know, if there's sufficient evidence anyway, they buy the claim from you, and then they sue the one that, you know, the defendant of the case, and then they collect the pot.
Determines the evidence is valid.
Yeah, but you sue them, and then they just say we don't care. We think this is so critical to our survival of this company, and I'm not gonna respond, or I'm not gonna like, what would you call it? I'm not gonna let you force upon me to do anything in any regard. Like, I'm gonna resist it.
Oh, wait, yeah, also, if you're the person who's to hire the person who has the education, wouldn't you just hire a judge who's always going to be partial to you?
The evidence is valid.
Let's go one thing at a time. So in the scenario that you have somebody refusing...
Stop interrupting. Hold on. Do not interrupt him while he's answering. You guys gotta... I mean, it's fine for you guys to make your... It's okay for you guys to make your arguments, you know. We don't mind a little bit of interruption, but at least allow him to respond, you know what I mean? Let's be fair.
If you have somebody that is refusing to comply with court outcome, that person or company is relinquishing any backup that it would have had through contractual means, whereas the other company is not. So if hypothetically it came to a showdown, you know, a conflict of force, a contest of might, then the company that isn't playing ball, that isn't abiding by court outcomes, would lose to the other side.
How do you know that? What?
Because company A that's not playing by the rules has no backup, whereas company B, it doesn't matter how many guns they have, realistically speaking, because they are a drop in the ocean. The other side at large is going to have far more guns because the other side is not just one company. So you have one criminal company versus hundreds of compliant companies.
If you're an Ancap, you can't think in terms of like criminal or non-criminal.
Okay.
There's no criminal in an Ancap society.
Okay, let's say like can I give an example real quick? So let's say Pennsylvania, right, has a lot of guns, right? Do you think they would but the rest of the 50 states, if they invade the other just one of the other 50 states, all the other 50 states are going to come together. Hold on, listen to me very carefully. So let's say Pennsylvania has a lot of guns, a lot of weapons, and a lot of people. But if they invade one of the other 50 states, all of the other 50 states are going to come together and stomp them out.
Fucking Article 5 situation, but that's not the case at all.
They're going to come to... excuse me. I guess it's impossible for you to hear an argument that differs from your own, it seems. So the argument that I'm making is, if let's say Pennsylvania has a lot of guns, and they decide to invade another state, but if they do so, all the other states are going to come together and then stomp them out. Yeah, they may have a lot of guns, but all those guns don't matter if all those other 50 states are going to come together and stomp them out.
You're saying all those guns don't matter if we had more guns. That's the argument you're making.
No,
Wait,
do you,
saying is
okay, so do you really believe if, let's say that Pennsylvania had a lot of guns, and they invaded another state.
You guys said you don't even believe in
states,
countries. What are you
listen to
talking
me
about
very
Pennsylvania?
carefully. Very,
it's a hypothetical, you dumb.
It's a hypothetical.
No,
listen very carefully. Listen very. Hold on. Listen very carefully. It's a hypothetical. So let's say Pennsylvania has a lot of guns, right? And they decide to invade another state. But if they invade one state, all of the other states are going to group together and stop them out. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Pennsylvania is going to win because they have a lot of guns, or do you think all of the other 50 states are going to win?
In society, it's not going to play out that way.
Am I talking? Listen to me very carefully. I'm not talking about an ANCAP society. So now you're running away from the hypothetical. You're running away from the hypothetical.
That's fine if I interject.
No, I don't. I don't want you to interject,
Chris.
So
I totally see what you're doing. I think it's confusing people to use like a political territory, like states like Pennsylvania.
It's very simple. The argument that I'm making, it's not about political or not political. The argument that I'm making is that if you have a whole group of people, if you have 50 states that are coming together and saying, "Hey, if one of you guys invade us, we're going to come together and stomp you out." Obviously, that combined force is going to be able to take out that one small state. And it would work the same way with private companies. If you have a shit ton of private companies who have signed agreements with each other that say, hey, if you have a big company that has a lot of guns and they say, hey, I'm going to take over, all those other private companies will come together and their combined force will be able to stomp out that one very small company, even though they have a lot of guns.
I need you to understand.
Very
one thing.
easy.
Just very simple. Just I need you to understand something. Okay. In like a truly Ancap society, like if there's no government or anything, it's just me, you, and like the Wild West. Okay. If we sign a contract and it's beneficial for me to backstab you, do you understand that with no police force and no like backing behind that, I would backstab you?
We will have police force.
There are the equivalents.
So you believe in government then? Like
we're not against government. We're against the state.
That's what
it's different, bro.
Fucking state.
No, I know that's not true. ANCAP is against the state, not against the government. The book club has a government, bro. But a book club is a state.
Okay, that's defining government in a very broad.
Like the government's just going to be any hierarchical structure that makes the rules of something, right? But a state is going to be a monopoly on violence.
Yeah, so like if you're on your own property and you govern your own property, you're basically the governor of your own property. But a state is different from a government. A state is a group of people who claim over a criminal organization that claims over a land and forces the people in that land to pay into its system. It's a legitimized mafia or criminal organization.
He's right.
You're not even an ANCAP. You're just like anti-state. Like don't call yourself an ANCAP.
That's an anarchist is. That's what an anarchist is.
No, it's not.
Anarchists are anti-state.
So anarchists aren't anti-state?
All anarchists are anti-state, bro.
Yeah, that's literally the whole idea of being an anarchist is we're against the state.
Anarchist does not believe in a fucking government. Okay.
No, that's not true. Anarchists believe in hierarchies. Just to be clear, all anarchists are
categorically against the hierarchies. Anarchists, for example, have no problem with a chess club having an organizer, or a company having a CEO, or a book club having a fucking director thing, or a charity, whatever. We're not against hierarchies categorically. We're against the state. That is, we're against the presence of a monopoly on force that has an involuntary hierarchy. Everybody else in society.
Yes. See, when you go to your job, nobody's forcing you to work there. If you go to a book club, nobody's forcing you to go to that book club. You choose to go there. But with the state, they force you to pay into its system. There, you have no choice.
I'm just curious. Can I be racist in my ANCAP commune?
Absolutely. The market forces are going to prevent that.
In almost every society, it's legal to be racist. You're not allowed to go murder somebody for being black or something like that. You can be racist. You can say racist things. And in an ANCAP world, you could discriminate freely. You can say, for instance, I won't. I'm a developer. I built property development of 200 houses. and I'm only going to sell them to white people. That's perfectly allowed.
That raises like
so I guess
out of it.
okay. Wait, Chris. I want to get through 2 more. Trust me. I'll shut up.
Market forces are going to disincentivize that.
Let's say that me and my village, okay, we're the village the size of American state. And we say, bro, we want to kick out everybody who's not white here, and we're just going to buy them out willingly. Okay, is that allowed?
Market forces.
If you're buying them out willingly, then yes.
Yeah, assuming that they agree to the transaction, yes.
Let's say we're in this. There's all these like kind of Ancappy states type thing, but they don't have like state government.
Ancapistan.
And they're like, yeah, all these different Ancap. Let's say there's 50 Ancapistans. All right, and then one Ancapistan is like, bro, this racist Ancapistan, we have like a major contract dispute with them, and we can't like sort it out peacefully. We've tried that, so we're just gonna have to enforce our will upon that Ancapistan.
No, that would not be Ancapistan. That would not be Ancapistan.
Listen,
that would be a state.
The relative commune.
You can't just enforce your will upon people. You can't just do that. That's.
By the way, wait,
hold on a second. We're not enforcing our will. We've gone through the courts and we've adjudicated.
Well, that was literally your words.
They've still. Okay, all right. Sorry, my bad. So we've gone through the courts and we've adjudicated, and they still refuse to do anything else.
Oh well, then all hell breaks loose. You could go in there and shoot.
What do you want them to? What did they do? Like, what is the issue?
Well, I guess it depends on what they did.
It doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, they've broken the social contract.
Well, it does matter because what they did. Well, what they did.
Well, yeah, it matters what they did.
Determines what you're allowed to do to them. You know, you can't just like go and shoot somebody because they walk on your grass. Like you gotta have a.
But I've gone through the courts. Wait a minute. So there has to be a crime that fits the punishment in this world.
Well, there has to be. Well, yeah, there has to be. The punishment has to fit the crime. That's what.
According to who?
According to the non-aggression principle.
Okay, anyway, okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. None of this is material. Trust me.
Okay. Social behavior.
Wait, I think hold on. I think taxation wants to say something real quick. Go ahead, taxation.
I see that.
If we're going based on historical precedent, actual historical ANCAP legal systems have gone overwhelmingly by restitution as the primary default punishment for crimes. The exceptions have been, in some cases of very serious crimes, there has been enslavement of the criminal. For example, within the Brehon system, if I murdered you and left your family destitute behind, and then I was not able to pay some giant weregild, because basically it meant blood money, it was restitution, then I could be enslaved to your family. And then what would really happen is they would rent me out to a nearby farmer or something. So restitution has been how almost all crimes have been handled. But in some cases, enslavement has been, punitive slavery has been a punishment. And there have also been things like
camps.
Okay. So then one Ancapistan, let's say the racist, not rapist. Yeah, you know what? The rapist Ancapistan. Whatever. One Ancapistan wants to invade the other Ancapistan. But everybody around that second Ancapistan, they didn't really like do anything.
What do you mean one Ancapistan and another Ancapistan?
Meaning that the groups around these people have agreed that like there's a bunch of groups that grouped up and they said, all right, we are going to invade this Ancapistan because we have this contract dispute with them and we're not getting anywhere with it. Okay. And all the other Ancapistans, they say all the Ancapistan communes, just insert commune here when I say Ancapistan. So all the other people. Wait, I'm sorry. You don't have like communes in the Ancapistan? You can't have like groups of people that agree to live in a village by a set amount of rules? Yeah, you can have them. Okay, so thank you. So we can have these Ancapistans.
I think he's trying to respond, but his voice is kind of low.
I can't even get to the end of the fucking hypothetical. I can't even get there.
Okay.
Because he's going to have an issue with Ancapistan, something you said we could have.
All right, go ahead.
The hypothetical seems to be predicated around the idea of like that an area is an actor. That like this area.
I'm just describing the people in communes around this other commune.
I don't know why we're assuming
literal states. I don't mean literal states, obviously.
Yeah, but
it means figurative states.
Like it would be weird to say this town has a dispute with that town or something. A person in this town has a dispute with a person in that town. That makes sense. But
wait, can people not hold something in common in Ancapistan?
No, there's no such thing as collective guilt. There's no such thing as
so only
collective
one
guilt.
person can own a river.
Yes.
It's not collective guilt. It's about collective responsibility.
Oh, we don't believe in collective responsibility either.
Well, listen.
So only one person can own water.
Can have a company.
Nobody said that. Well, why are we assuming that if it's just a natural
Bryce, this is yours now.
Wait, the water? If somebody can't, one person can't
on.
own the water. That doesn't make much sense.
If I build a river, if I build like a man-made...
Listen.
Says that one person cannot own water? Who decides that one person cannot own the water on a river?
Listen.
Well, you can bottle some water. If you bottle some water, it's your
Not
water.
if I own the river.
Well, it depends on who's if you're the owner. If you're the owner,
no, I was talking to taxation as theft or KingSithis, either one.
Well, if you're the owner of the land, then you're allowed to do whatever you want with
Bars,
it.
knock it down, destroy him. You know.
What?
Listen, KingSithis. Could it not be the case? Could it not be the case? Could it not be the case that you have a company, right? Let's say it's like a super influential company in this quote unquote area, a commune, whatever you want to call it, this Ancapistan. It's super influential, and everybody in the place agrees that, well, that other place is ripping us the fuck off on this deal, so we all support the invasion of the other Ancapistan. Could that not be a thing?
That would not be a thing.
No,
you
it would
would
not.
buy your steel. You would buy your. It's way cheaper and more efficient that you just buy the steel elsewhere. You don't have to buy steel from that company. You could buy steel from a different company.
Yeah, in a free market, you would not expect in a free market you would not expect only one company to be selling one product. You would expect multiple companies, because in a free market, as long as there's no barriers to, or no state creating regulations or laws creating barriers to entry in that sector, then you would see a bunch of firms basically popping up as soon as they see that there's profit to be made.
Let's just say it's a local let's just say it's a local service. Then they do some service that they can only sell locally. It's not really something you can export. Okay, can we suppose that?
That service would go out of business, obviously.
We're very accustomed, I think, to a status.
Can we suppose that?
Framework.
No, I mean, that service would clearly go out of business if it's the case that's known that this service is going to rip off everyone who interacts with it due to symmetries of information. It's going to be the case that service would just go out of business. It's just trivially true.
Also, that's assuming. Also assumes that there's not another person that can also start another business that would then compete with that business.
Well, yeah, but that's why I give the example of a river. If I own the only river in Nevada.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
How do you
Wait a minute. How did you come to own the river?
Oh my god, you guys are missing the point. The point is
just move out of Nevada.
Locally, there's a locally provided service that the one company just has a lot of power over. It can be 2 companies and they can both have gotten ripped off. It can be 10 companies and they all got ripped off. Okay, it doesn't matter. Do we agree? But that's the thing that's
it does matter, because then there's competition and it wouldn't be a monopoly.
You're arguing with an
unironic answer. It's not contingent. It's not contingent on. Stop. It's not contingent. It's not contingent. It's not contingent. My whole point has nothing to do with it being monopoly. So I'm not sure why you're saying that it wouldn't be a monopoly. 10 companies could have just gotten all ripped off on the same type of deal with another Ancapistan, right? We agree. It doesn't have to be
somebody
monopoly
off
for
is
that
not
to
a
be the
rights
issue.
violation. It depends on what you mean by ripped off.
Like, I think he's talking about contract violation. If that's the case, that this company just keeps violating contracts, it's simply more profitable for these other companies to to take their business elsewhere other than to invade. I mean, that's just silly.
Yeah, war is very costly. And then with private companies, if they have to go to war with another private company, they would have to then raise their premiums on the people whom are buying their service, which then will incentivize them to go to another business that isn't starting a war.
They can simply pay their soldiers with stuff.
Okay, let's say that all those people
during the war.
That's assumed that they would have to win the war first, which is very costly.
Everyone.
And how are they going to fund that war? If those premiums go up and people go to another business?
You're doing so much changing of the hypothetical. You're ignoring my actual point. Everything that you're gonna say, I'm gonna have a let's suppose for it. So can we just let's suppose the whole thing, or do you need me to go through every single thing that you bring up?
Nobody's stopping you from making a hypothetical.
Debate tactics.
It's literally what you're doing. You are literally stopping me from doing the hypothetical. It's what you're doing.
Yeah, Bars, you need to stop interrupting him while he's interrupting you, okay?
I'm not even
seemed like the
speaking.
starting premise of the hypothetical was presupposing kind of the statist framework that we're used to. Germany invades.
No, we didn't. We didn't presuppose anything. You asked us.
Another
No, you.
Here, hold on. Allow him to
No,
finish.
dude, we
Allow him to
already
finish,
went through-
please. Taxation,
What
go
type
ahead.
of nonsense is he talking about?
I
What
think
I
your
was saying
microphone is
is
cut off.
that we are accustomed to a statist framework in which areas of land are treated as like a collective or like Germany.
No, this is a great
Your
argument.
microphone is just keep cutting in and out.
Yeah, if only they had good mics and Ancaps, fam.
Okay, I'm on the move now. I don't know if this is any better. We are accustomed to a
It's
framework
not.
where an area of land. What? Is not any better?
No, go ahead. We can hear you just fine.
You're good now.
Okay. We are accustomed to, and I'm hearing remnants of, a statist framework where it's like an area of land and the people that live there and some sort of collective agency, i.e. a state, it's treated as an acting party. So we're used to a framework where it makes sense to hear things like Germany invaded France. The government of Germany invaded the area of France. But within an ANCAP system, there's no like this Ancapistan and that Ancapistan, where this one invaded that one. Every dispute is a dispute between two people or a person and an organizations or something. There's someone specific, and they have nothing to do with the land. Somebody in this town has a dispute with somebody in that town. Somebody in two people in the same town have a dispute, and these are functionally no different. In other words, an area isn't an actor.
Okay, so I'm trying to say this in the nicest way possible. So the past 10 minutes of the conversation has actually been me trying to get around what you're saying. So what I've been saying this entire time is, okay, well, maybe there wouldn't be, the state of Ancapistan doing this thing to Ancapistan too, but it could be the case that there is a company that sells a local service that people who live there are unable to get from other Ancapistans, and they decide, well, we all have a vested interest in this Ancapistan, and then the company says that they were ripped off. It could be two companies, it could be three companies. They could all say that they got ripped off, and all of the people who live in their Ancapistan say, yeah, we're cool with you guys going to war with that company. And then in the other Ancapistan, there are a bunch of other people who are also like highly invested in a localized company and are perfectly okay with, the two Ancapistans going to war with each other. I'm just asking if that is a possible thing. Is that a thing that can happen?
Are you going to donate to, let's say, a local steel company that goes and attacks some other steel company? Are you going to give a donation to fund?
I might if my corporation relies on it.
Like if I need the service that they provide, or if my job,
I mean, why is it inconceivable that you can't just move to somewhere else that also provides this service? Is this
also what you're describing is like Italy throughout the whole.
Maybe I can't economically survive the move. Maybe I can't move. Maybe all my materials and everything would take months to move.
Generally,
it would take months to move.
Within an ANCAP scenario, people are free to buy their goods and services from wherever. You don't have to buy from a local company. There's no national borders in this scenario. There's no tariffs. There's no no restrictions on import and trade and so on. Everything is fair game. You have the entire world is one big market.
Yeah, obviously, but that's because it's a market doesn't mean it can be economically productive to get it from everywhere else. It might be the case that like I don't think concrete really crosses state borders even in our world right now, because it's just too economically prohibitive to actually get that job done that way.
That sounds like a market deficit, and there could be another company that has sufficient capital to set up a similar.
Do you think there's a market? Do you think there's a market incentive for literally everything possible?
Yes.
Literally, yes. That's what a market is.
If enough money's thrown at it, but whose money?
Another corporation.
I mean, the whole
the people who want it. Do you think there's an economically productive way to get like concrete from West Washington to Nampa, Idaho? Oh, I don't even know where that is. Sorry, to the middle of Idaho.
Well, yeah.
I mean, if
somebody's willing to
I
pay
just
for
pass
it.
on that cost to literally everybody else.
I mean, if someone's willing to pay for it.
These are only as economically productive as the value that they provide. So if it's very valuable to transport concrete across a landmass, then obviously it's going to be.
Listen, I run a boutique artisanal. I make concrete cats. Okay, and it's prime for my survival to be able to get concrete from where I'm at. There's a major dispute between these two corporations. Okay, and I can't get any concrete because of it. So what do? Do I just like give up and shove up my doors?
This is so dumb. Okay, the whole idea of Ancapistan is silly.
My answer to that question. Can we get an answer from the Ancaps to that question, please?
Well, my best bet, probably find a third. Excuse me a second.
He just
probably
said that he can't do that. So you're.
I'm sorry, I was gone for a bit.
I'm sure I missed something because I was deafened. I had the Uber customer call me. I just wanted to point out, any company that goes to war is, in all likelihood, putting itself out of business. This is because the costs of war do not decrease with customers lost. So if company A and B go to war with each
Are
other...
you responding to a question that would happen while you were on the phone? There was somebody asked a question. We're waiting for a response, please.
Okay. I was talking about stuff that was before I was on the phone.
Yeah, I understand, but somebody just asked a pressing question, and I'm waiting for somebody who identifies as an ANCAP
Wait,
to
what's
respond.
the question?
He's an ANCAP.
What was the question?
I mean, Doobie did just unban.
You want to repeat it?
Oh yeah. So there's a contract dispute between these two concrete companies, okay? And because of that, I can't get my concrete. They're just not selling it anymore. Maybe it's like one supplies it and one does the job. So I can't make my concrete cats, my artisanal boutique concrete cats, so that people can put them on their front doors. What am I supposed to do in that situation?
Why don't you just go to a different company?
There isn't any other ones around. These are the two.
What do you mean? Why are you like
Not
like
anywhere that
how
would
is
be
there
close
no
enough to make
other
it
one?
economically productive.
Not in the whole world?
Man, I don't know what to tell you.
Wait, I'm sorry. I don't know if you know this. Concrete is prohibitively expensive. People do not ship it.
Wait, if that's the case, it sounds like you could just start up your own concrete company in your own local area and make a shit ton of money.
What if I don't have the money to do it? Also true.
Maybe
How
you would
long
get
is that going to
investors
take?
from other people. You would get investors from other people.
So
also
the
want
answer
to-
actually is that I have to give up my concrete business. That is the answer.
If
you
want
can
to.
give
Wait
up
a minute.
You can give up your artisanal cat business for the sake of making more money with a concrete business. Yes.
I would give up my concrete cat business. Very true. Thank you.
Are you saying that big concrete companies like Sackcrete and Quickcrete, that they're not shipping all over to different Home Depots and Lowe's and so forth? Of course they do.
They don't make enough for my concrete cats.
There are lots of concrete companies. In any given place you are, you can buy concrete from many providers.
I live in rural West.
Are there concrete providers in Alaska that can like provide?
Because the problem isn't that like it's the problem isn't that like the problem isn't that they couldn't conceivably hold on. The problem isn't that like it's impossible to get concrete to where I'm living. That's not the problem. If you thought that was the problem, you're a retard.
So Ancapistan bad because you can't create concrete cats. That's your argument.
No, I'm just outlining because you said that we couldn't donate to another
Ancapistan
person.
bad because you can't create concrete cats.
Are you interrupting me? Are
Yes.
you not just really mad about people interrupting?
Yes.
How do they all miss
Okay,
the
cool.
point?
Thank you. So the point about it, because we all had forgotten, was that you said it was bad or that I couldn't donate to a local company to like help finish out their dispute. But I'm pointing out that there are obviously situations where that could be the most beneficial thing for me to do.
The problem is when you get into the realm of violence, when you get into the realm of physical force, then you're subject to the laws of backup contract network. So in this scenario, if when I say laws, I meant in the sense of like laws of economics, laws of physics, and so on.
And you misnomer that because
I clearly did not mean state laws. I meant like laws of physics, laws of economics, laws of... Really, I meant laws of game theory in this scenario, as it applies to backup.
Of course, may I?
Can you not allow? Can you guys just let him finish his statement, please?
If Company A initiates force against Company B, Company A is not trying to avoid conflict. They're provoking a conflict. And then Company B is simply defending itself. But in that scenario, Company A, by initiating aggression and picking a fight, not, for instance, just taking the matter to arbitration, they are forfeiting any backup that they would have had as part of their backup contract networks. Whereas Company B has done no such thing. They still have their contractual backup. So Company, was it A that was the aggressor? Company A knows that if this actually comes to fighting, they're going to lose because it's them on their own up against hundreds of different companies as part of the contract network of the other side.
Okay.
So the outcome is whoever initiates a war is guaranteed to lose it. Even if they're the bigger company.
Taxation.
I'd just say this whole chat is real liberal.
What is this backup contract law thing? Is this just like a principle, or is it an actual thing that's codified into law?
We believe in NAP.
There's no law, dude. It's anarcho-capitalism.
It must be said taxation is theft.
Well, okay, so you said that like
hold on, guys. If
Did
you're
he
gonna
just say law?
if a
dude?
person
That's the
stop,
court, though.
stop,
How
guys.
dare you try to introduce
Guys.
a law into this guy's working
Guys,
model? dude?
Dante, stop real quick. Stop.
That would require a monopoly of force, dude.
Yeah, I'm getting. I
Fucking
need
morons.
1 minute.
Holy shit.
Dante,
They just
dude.
get dumber and dumber, dude.
I need 1
I'm
minute.
hearing a couple things that I think need addressing at once.
Did that nigga just say law? How
Dude,
dare
stop,
you?
Dante, stop.
Bro, Sithis, for your sake, just mute that motherfucker. Just mute
Dante,
him. Get it
yeah.
over with. Everybody would condone it.
Okay.
You have to enforce your will upon him, and it'll be based.
So,
It's like fucking. It's like level 1 argument.
Listen, it
Dante's
doesn't
making-
count when you're on the internet, so.
Dante's making the dumb guy version. of the
I assume that would be an Ancapistan like Pledge of Allegiance. If it's on the
Okay,
internet, it doesn't
making the dumb
count.
guy
This as a concept is so fucking retarded. Like, can we talk about
You're
allowed to
retarded.
make,
Capistan?
Taxation is theft. The moment you assert property rights, you are engaging in violence. That's what a assertion of property rights is.
Yeah, I do want to hear the answer to the question, though.
Can you allow him to like respond because he's trying to respond, but he.
I don't want to veer off into 100 other things without addressing things that were said before. So, to answer the question, it's not that it's legally codified that companies enter backup contracts with each other. In the same sense, there's no law that says that a food manufacturer has to buy flour. They buy flour because it's in their economic interest to do so as part of the nature of their operation. Likewise, if I am a rights enforcement company, if I'm in the business of force, then it's immediately obvious to me when I enter the market that I'm not the biggest army. I need to make sure that I can't just be rolled over by whoever has a bigger army. The way that I deal with this, the way that they historically have dealt with this, is I go to all of the other companies that operate in the market, other companies that are in the business of force, and I say, okay, I'll back you up, you back me up, but I'm not going to back you up unconditionally. I'm not going to submit my resources and money and personnel and stuff to go, support you in a conflict that you just provoked and allow you to externalize your costs to me. I will back you up if you're doing everything possible to avoid conflict. And likewise, you back me up as long as I'm doing everything possible to avoid conflict. So you get mutual backup contracts. Let me finish. You get mutual backup contracts. And they have conditions to them. There are clauses that say things like, if you want my backup, you have to be willing to defer to a court. You have to be willing to abide by some asshole on a motorcycle. You have to be willing to abide by court outcomes. You have to do everything possible to avoid conflict. And any falling off from that standard, I'm not going to back you up. Now, if I am backing you, then you have the backup of not only me, but of my backup contract and their backup contract, so forth. So if you have a scenario where one company is playing by the rules, company A is playing by the rules, agreeing to court, abiding by court outcomes, and so forth, but the other company is not, company B is saying, fuck you, we have a big argument about your court, then company A has hundreds of other companies backing it up in the hypothetical event of a conflict, but company B has no backup.
So Company A, even if it's much smaller than the other one, Company
If Company
A
B
would
can
still
afford
win.
an army, why wouldn't they pay to have like all the other companies on board?
Give me a minute, please. Sorry. So taxation is theft. Now imagine there's hundreds of different rights enforcement agencies that all come to the same compact. And imagine they all decide to get together, and with all of their combined power and influence, they're able to exert their right enforcement over a significant landmass. And then they decide to solve the free rider problem that everyone within that landmass has to pay them a given fee periodically in order to keep this regime going.
Their service has nothing to do with land. They don't have jurisdiction. It's not like
they're the fucking army. What are you talking about?
They have jurisdiction over everything.
They're no more jurisdictional. They are no more jurisdictional.
Fucking military. What are you talking about?
They are no more jurisdictional than a pizza delivery company is.
Against who?
They provide service to people in a given area, sure, but not everybody in that area gets the service. Like Pizza Hut may deliver. Actually, they won't. Hypothetically, if I lived in the city, Pizza Hut may be willing to deliver to me at my house, but me living there doesn't get me the service of Pizza Hut. I would have to separately buy it.
So if me and you were playing checkers, and we've decided to use checkers as a dispute mechanism to solve who's getting like a piece of bronze nugget we found at the ground, and then I'm losing and I pull a gun out and point it at your head.
Yes.
You pointing out that that's not a legal move in checkers is sort of missing the point of what's going on here.
I'm saying that practically speaking, those who initiate aggression and those who are not willing to abide by court outcomes and play by the rules would be greatly overpowered.
You have
by those
initiated aggression the moment you assert property rights claims. That's what property rights claims are.
Oh, fuck, true.
No, that's
An
not
act
true.
of force.
That is true.
Me building a house and saying this is my house and I'll defend it.
Nope, it's mine.
Wait, that's not initiating aggression.
It is, because you're saying you're going to defend it.
You built that on my land.
Aggression? What?
You built that on my land.
Oh my god.
The land
level
you built
of
that house
competition.
on was promised me 3,000 years ago. It's mine.
What are we talking about?
You can only
You don't have
homestead
promise-
unowned land.
I say I can homestead whatever I want.
Homesteading entails you doing something with land that is unowned.
Anything else?
Fundamentally, though, like,
property
how do you
rights
count that? Like,
regime.
the idea that like you're playing checkers, the person, you're like doing all this like court, abiding stuff, and somebody just pulls a gun and says like, well, it's mine now. Like, how do you?
Yeah, that's what the monopoly of force is: an ability to
create
enforce a
scenarios
property rights regime. That is what a state
without a
is.
monopoly.
No,
Louisville.
not effectively.
It says
I got Uber for
The entirety
Just
of
asserting
human
that.
history.
If you're
Anyways, guys, I'm going to bed,
going to
guys.
use the gun scenario with everyone.
Have a good night, dude.
Have a good night, everybody. I'm getting tired. It was fun.